Chapter 388. Who is this guy? What terrifying strength. He actually destroyed Fairy Wuching's attack with a flick of his finger. Fairy Wuching is a celestial venerable in the emotionless realm. She has the cultivation of a divine king. How could her attack be destroyed so easily? What an unfamiliar face. It is said that both the Eastern and Western heaven realms have a few divine emperors who are in seclusion all year round. Do you think he is a divine emperor? Fairy Wuching's cultivation has reached the great ascension stage. Perhaps only a divine emperor can destroy her attack with a flick of his finger. No wonder that Brad is so arrogant. He dares to provoke Fairy Tantai and Fairy Wuching with his early rank 6 cultivation. So he has a divine emperor behind him. Haha, I didn't come for nothing today. Even if I can't listen to the lecture, I can at least watch a good show. As soon as Chu Bei appeared, he became the focus of everyone's attention. The astonished gazes of all the cultivators gathered on Chu Bei's body as they whispered and discussed animatedly. You still attacked. The woman in white looked at Chu Bei coldly. When he attacked, she knew that she couldn't kill Chan Nan today. Although she didn't leave the emotionless realm all year round, she still saw the battle in the eternal forest. From what she knew, she was sure that the mysterious man in front of her was not a divine emperor, but an unknown realm above the divine emperor realm. Since you know who I am, why do you still dare to kill him? Chu Bei crossed his arms in front of his chest and looked at the woman in white expressionlessly. His face gradually darkened. Are you looking down on me? Chu Bei's emotionless voice fell. He waved his sleeve. In an instant, a dazzling golden light enveloped the entire Tantai wonderland. The Jade Palace was gone, the huge square was gone, and the endless peaks were gone. There was only endless dazzling light. At this moment, everyone seemed to be in a world of light. In their line of sight, there was only light. Is this really a divine emperor's technique? What a holy aura. I feel warm all over. It's so comfortable. If I can cultivate here, I'm afraid my cultivation speed will be 10 times, or even 100 times faster than the outside world. This should be his inner world, right? What a terrifying technique. The cultivators were intoxicated as if they were wandering in a sea of love. Some cultivators began to doubt their guesses about Chu Bei's cultivation. Unlike the comfortable feeling of ordinary cultivators, Fairy Wuching couldn't feel the slightest bit of warmth in this sea of light. It was as if she had arrived in the domain of the Grim Reaper. Every light element in the surroundings was filled with killing intent. It was as if with a single thought, she could be swallowed up by the golden light and completely turn into nothingness. This body doesn't belong to you in the first place. Why are you so obsessed with it? Chu Bei glanced at the merciless fairy. As soon as he spoke calmly, thin rays of light shot out of the golden light around her. Without giving the merciless fairy any time to react, the rays of light wrapped around her. The merciless fairy's expression changed abruptly. She realized that she couldn't move under the restraints of the light. What was even more frightening was that the origin energy in her body had stopped flowing, like a pool of stagnant water. No, don't come out. When the golden light entered her body, her devastatingly beautiful face immediately twisted. She let out a miserable cry of pain. Her voice was filled with terror as if she was afraid of something. Master, don't hurt Yusin. Seeing Fairy Wuching's pained expression, Chan Nan panicked. He wanted to stop Chu Bei immediately. Unknowingly, Chan Nan's tears flowed uncontrollably again. His eyes were filled with pity. Little Dawn, who was not far away, bit her lips. Her big, watery eyes turned red and tears flowed down her cheeks nonstop. Catherine and Zombie King Yusin looked at each other. They couldn't bear to see her like this. Oh my God, the expert is too cruel. He can't even bear to bully such a beautiful fairy. The purple gold divine dragon howled and covered its eyes with its baby dragon. Don't worry, I'm helping her. Chu Bei gave Chan Nan a reassuring look. At the same time, he continued to control the golden light to enter Fairy Wuching's body. It was like peeling silk from a cocoon, separating something. I don't care who you are. Even if you're above a godly emperor, I won't allow you to hurt Wuching. Suddenly, Tantai Xian's cold voice echoed in the world of light. In the next moment, Tantai Xian's figure flashed. She appeared in front of Chu Bei in an instant. At the same time, she made a gesture with her right hand. A green light appeared, and a majestic storm of origin energy hit Chu Bei. She'll be fine. However, you won't have a good ending if you attack me. Chu Bei looked at Dan Taixin calmly. The moment he finished speaking, he raised his left hand and waved it casually. In an instant, the light gathered. A huge golden light palm print appeared on Chu Bei's left side. Rumble. The golden light palm print stabilized the void and faced Tantai Xian's attack. Amidst the low roar, the giant golden palm easily shattered Dan Taishuan's Dao technique and then landed on her body. When the golden light disappeared, Tantai Xian was completely covered in blood. Looking at Tantai Xian's miserable appearance, not only were the immortal martial realm cultivators stunned, even the immortal venerables were stunned. All of them gulped as they looked at the back of Chun Nan with eyes filled with fear. This is not a battle of the same level. Celestial Primes, do you know where he came from? Even someone as strong as Fairy Tantai is like an ant in front of him. I don't know his exact background. All you need to know is that he came from one of those lost small worlds. His cultivation has reached a realm that we don't even know about. Tantai Xian is too irrational. She clearly saw what he did in the Eternal Forest, but she still took the initiative to attack. Luckily, he didn't kill her. He only punished her slightly. Among the cultivators, there were people constantly asking the Celestial Primes about Chu Bei's identity. Among them, there was no lack of Celestial Primes, sighing with pity for Tantai Xian. Tantai Xian wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth and stared at Chu Bei unwillingly. The blood on the surface of her body was gradually absorbed. When she was about to attack again, several golden light chains wrapped around her limbs. Not only that, her mouth was also sealed by an unknown force. She couldn't even make a sound. She could only watch as everything happened to Fairy Wuching. Fairy Wuching's screams became more and more painful. It made people feel pity for her. What's going on? Why are there two souls in Fairy Wuching's body? At this moment, the cultivators who were paying attention to Fairy Wuching were dumbfounded and exclaimed. There were two souls intertwining in Fairy Wuching's graceful body. One of the souls had gratitude in its eyes, as if it was relieved. The other soul's eyes were filled with intense hatred. The Celestial Primes and the 6 Overgods knew that Fairy Wuching cultivated the manual of unruffled virtue. When they saw the two souls in her body, their eyes gradually became clear. At this moment, they seemed to understand Chu Bei's goal. At the same time, they gained a new understanding of Chu Bei's methods. He could actually forcefully strip the soul of a great realization divine king cultivator. Come out. With a low, cold shout, Chu Bei pulled backward with his right hand. Immediately, the thin ray of light that entered Fairy Wuching's body dragged out one of the two souls. Once the soul that was filled with hatred left her body, Fairy Wuching slowly collapsed as if she had fallen asleep. Chan Nan, who had been observing the situation, immediately leaped forward and carried the unconscious Fairy Wuching in his arms. I hate you all. Why did you all appear? I was about to succeed. Why? The soul that had been stripped out glared at Chu Bei unwillingly as it screamed at the top of its lungs. Looking at the soul that was born from the manual of unruffled virtue and seemed to have gone mad, Chu Bei shook his head. You should not have appeared in this world in the first place. Reincarnation is the way of the heavens. Go and find your new home. With that, Chu Bei pointed with his finger. A rain of light surged towards the soul in front of him. Within the holy aura, the soul's unwilling expression began to ease as if it had been freed. Within the rain of light, the soul became fainter and fainter until it completely disappeared. We're done with this trip. We'll take her away. As for the rest of you, you can continue your unfinished preaching. Chu Bei glanced at the cultivators below. With that, he waved his sleeve, and the golden light around them gradually dissipated. Soon, the jade palaces, plazas, continuous mountain peaks, and other familiar surroundings returned to the cultivator's line of sight. Tantai Xian also regained her freedom. After glancing at Yusin, who was in Chun Nan's arms, she looked at Chu Bei again. Although her gaze was filled with hatred, she did not act rashly. The cultivators present looked at each other. They all seemed to be in a daze. If not for the unconscious fairy Wuching, they would have thought that everything that had just happened was a dream. Let's go. Chu Bei waved his hand and disappeared with Qian Nan and the others. I wonder how Fairy Wuching is doing. Speaking of which, Fairy Wuching has been taken away. Will today's preaching continue? Look at Fairy Tantai's current state. Do you think she still has the mood to preach? In my opinion, it's better for everyone to return home. Looking in the direction that Chu Bei and the others disappeared, the cultivators in the plaza sighed. Chapter 389. The Emotionless Realm. It was 1,000 miles wide. The scenery was as beautiful as a paradise. The fragrance of flowers filled one's nose and refreshed one's mind. In the middle of the emotionless realm was a lake that was as smooth as a sapphire. All kinds of strange flowers and herbs adorned the lake. On the east side of the lake, there was a green mountain peak. There were pavilions and towers surrounded by ethereal mist. In the pavilion, Fairy Wuching slowly woke up. Compared to before, Fairy Wuching's eyes were pure and untainted by the mortal world. Yusin! Qian Nan shouted and trembled as he caressed the white-clothed woman's face. He knew that the woman in his arms was the young girl from 10,000 years ago. This time, it couldn't be wrong. When he thought of all the suffering Yusin had gone through and how she was still used as a furnace, Qian Nan couldn't help but cry. Qian Nan, it's really you. We've finally met again. I'm really happy. Sob sob. Yusin bit her lip and started to cry helplessly like a lost child. Yusin, it's really good to see you again. Qian Nan wiped the tears from the corner of his eyes and smiled. Then, he wiped Yusin's tears again with a determined expression. This time, I won't let anyone take you away again. From now on, I'll be wherever you are. Hearing Qian Nan's words, Yusin nodded heavily. Qian Nan, do you know? I've been fantasizing about this day, but I didn't expect you to really come. This is just like a dream. When she wanted to kill you, my heart hurt so much. She's already been dealt with by Master. It's all in the past. Qian Nan stroked the hair on Yusin's forehead and kissed her with a serious expression. Chu Bei couldn't help but twitch the corner of his mouth when he saw this scene. Why was it that every time he went to a plain, he had to be showered with love dog food? 10,000 years ago, I narrowly escaped death in the 100-Flower Valley of the ancient immortal ruins. Later, Uncle Chen entered the ancient immortal ruins again. He used his great magic power to forcefully reverse my fate and finally let me live. But when I left the valley, you were already gone. In the following time, the purple gold divine dragon, the dragon babies, Little Dawn, Catherine, and Corpse King Yusin surrounded Yusin and listened to her talk about the past. While Uxian was narrating, Chun Nan and the others were dejected. At that time, the gods of the heaven realm encountered some kind of disaster and almost all of them died. Some gods who were lucky enough to survive hid in the human world, but a chaotic battle broke out, causing the human world to be in chaos. Uncle Chan brought Aunt Chen and me in the opposite direction. He brought us to the heaven realm. However, the peaceful life didn't last long. Some of the surviving gods returned. In the end, the heaven realm became more and more chaotic. One day, a person who claimed to be from the Qin family found Uncle Chun. That person was very powerful. Ever since that day, there have been deities chasing after us. In order to protect us, Uncle Qin fought and killed every day. Hearing this, Qian Nan waved his hand to interrupt Yusin. He frowned. Qin family? Which Qin family? I don't know. Yusin bit her lip and continued. He said that Uncle Chun was a traitor of the Qin family. Later on, the Qin family became more and more powerful and they found Uncle Qin. Until a middle-aged man with silver-white hair came looking for Uncle Chun. I don't know what he said to Uncle Chun, but Uncle Chun arranged for me to stay in a safe cave abode. Then, he left with Aunt Chun with that middle-aged man. From then on, he never returned. Qin family? Why haven't I heard Father mention them? The more Qian Nan listened, the deeper his frown became. He subconsciously glanced in Chu Bei's direction. He had asked Chu Bei many times about the whereabouts of his father, Qin Zhan, but Chu Bei never gave him an answer. Later on, I found a strange book in that cave. It was called The Record of Unruffled Sage. It was called the #1 martial art in the Heaven Realm. At that time, if you wanted to survive in the chaotic Heaven Realm, you had to have enough power. Thus, I followed the book's instructions and cultivated. In the end, speaking of this, Yusin paused and avoided Chunnan's gaze. Chunnan lovingly pinched Yusin's cheeks and said on her behalf, "In the end, your cultivation improved by leaps and bounds. You even became an immortal in the Heaven Realm. But who in the world can achieve the record of Unruffled Sage? The so-called record of Unruffled Sage is just killing the original self and creating a new self. Just like that, you cultivated until another self was born in your body. And as time passed, this new you replaced you." Yusin secretly glanced at Chunnan and nodded. She remained silent. At this time, Chunnan seemed to have thought of something. "Then what about the Du family forcing you to marry? When I cultivated to the immortal martial realm, my consciousness had not been taken over by her. At that time, I wanted to go home and take a look, so I went to the human realm. But I didn't expect that the 3 immortal martial realm experts of the Du family would force me to marry someone else. I was unwilling, so I fought with them. Although I killed one of them, I was seriously injured and was in danger. After that, I was chased by them until I escaped to the west. I asked the previous goddess of life for help." Yusin stretched out her slender finger and pointed at Catherine. "After that, with the help of the Tree of Life, not only did I recover from my injuries, I also had her. So that's how it is. This Du family really deserves to die." After understanding the cause and effect, Chunnan clenched his fists tightly. A strong killing intent rose in his eyes. "Big sister, did you leave me behind in the 100-Flower Valley?" Little Chun, she looked at Yusin with her big watery eyes. Yusin pinched little Chun Shi's pink nose. "Although I had you because of me, you are you now. Chun Shi likes big brother and big sisters. Chun Shi wants to be with all of you forever." Little Chin, she mumbled. Corpse King Yusin had remained silent since the beginning. She had also guessed her origin. It was this woman in front of her who shed her true body in order to pursue a higher realm of cultivation. 15 minutes later, Chunnan held Yusin's hand and walked in front of Chu Bei. "Master, thank you." Chunnan and Yusin bowed deeply to Chu Bei at the same time. Then, Chunnan said, "Master, if you need me in the future, even if it's to be a chess piece, I will do my best to complete it. Before that, you should first become martial brother and sister with her." Chu Bei's lips curled into a smile. Yusin was stunned. Her beautiful eyes were filled with confusion. Meanwhile, Chunnan reacted. He quickly pulled Yusin and said gratefully, "Thank you, Master, for being willing to accept Yusin." Host signed a contract with Level 1 Substitute Fairy Merciless. Mission completed. Level 14 Commodity Authority Activation Progress, 80%. Final mission. Destroy the Heavenly Path and obtain the Heavenly Jewel. During the mission, the host can use Xiao Hei's power once. When the process was completed, the system's voice rang in Chu Bei's mind. Hearing the new mission, Chu Bei was stunned. Did the system want him to directly fight the Heavenly Path? But right now, he didn't know how to fight the Heavenly Path. "Master, I want to return to the human realm now. I want to go to the Du family to collect the debt from 10,000 years ago." The murderous intent in Chunnan's eyes intensified. "Before you go, improve your cultivation first," Chu Bei replied calmly. Half an hour later, Chu Bei's group arrived at the mountain peak where a jade palace was located. On the peak of the mountain, a strange ancient array was carved. Yusin formed a seal with her hands, and the ancient array began to twist. Wisps of aura that seemed to come from the primordial times spread out. "Master, through this array, we can enter the human realm." Yusin returned to Chunnan's side. She looked at Chu Bei with respect. After interacting with Chunnan more, she had a better understanding of her master. He was a supreme of heaven and earth with a mysterious background and cultivation above the heavenly realm. "Since you're done, let's go." After speaking calmly, Chu Bei took the lead and stepped into the ancient array. The rest followed closely behind. Chu Bei and the rest disappeared with a flash of light at the eye of the array. The Tianyuan continent was divided into east and west. In the east, There were three dominant countries. They were Baiyue Nation, Chu Nation, and Omping Nation. Among them, Baiyue Nation had the largest land area with many mountains. In the western part of Baiyue Nation, in the Taihang Mountains, the mountain range was endless. Towering mountains and precipitous ridges were like ferocious dragons lying on the ground. Yusin, do you remember the exact location? Chun Nan asked Yusin, who was beside him. Thousands of years have passed. Time has changed this place. Yusin shook her head. Hearing this, Chun Nan had to ask Chu Bei for help. Master, I wonder if you... Without waiting for Chun Nan to finish, Chu Bei pointed at a mountain 500 meters to the south. When they arrived at the mountain Chu Bei pointed at, Chun Nan and the rest quickly discovered the abnormality of this mountain. This mountain could absorb the spiritual qi of heaven and earth from all directions. Master's eyes are indeed sharp. The Du family Xin boundary is here. Chun Nan came to the mountainside. In front of him was a 5-meter-tall square-shaped barrier. The barrier was glowing with a faint blue light. Brother, I think I sensed a terrifying monster. Little Chen, she flew to the front of the barrier and pouted as soon as her little hand touched the barrier. Terrifying monster? How terrifying? Chun Nan frowned. Little Chin, she grew up absorbing the spiritual qi of heaven and earth in the 100 Immortals Valley. In this aspect, her perception was far superior to that of a master. It's scarier than the one in the cemetery. Little Chun, she looked at Chan Nan and said seriously, What? It's scarier than that person. Hearing Little Chen Shi's answer, Chun Nan was shocked. His expression changed, and he quickly looked at Chu Bei. Master, is there a heavenly state in the Du family Xian boundary? He was here to collect his debt. If there was a heavenly state elite in the Du family, then even 10,000 of him would not be enough to defeat him. Chu Bei recalled for a moment, and the corner of his mouth raised into a smile. There is indeed a heavenly state in the Du family Xian boundary. However, he will not affect you from collecting your debt. With Master's words, I am relieved. Looking at Chu Bei's confident expression, Chun Nan felt relieved. Then, he turned to look at Yu Xian and pointed at the barrier in front of her. After exchanging glances, Yu Xian nodded slightly. A terrifying force gathered in her palm, and she struck the barrier with a bang. Ripples began to appear on the barrier, and a tiny crack began to spread out. Although the Du family Xian boundary was not comparable to the Heaven Realm's immortal realm, it was still better than the human realm's holy lands. Who are you? How dare you break into my Du family's Xian world without permission? Perhaps the commotion caused by Yu Xian breaking the barrier was too big, but when Chu Bei and the others arrived at the Xian world, a group of people surrounded them. There were more than 50 people. I'm here to make you pay your debt. Chun Nan looked at the leader and said coldly. His killing intent was thick. You're courting death. Hearing Chun Nan's reply, the leader's face instantly turned gloomy. Then, he gestured to the people behind him. Take them down. I'll give you time to invite your Du family's old ancestor. Chun Nan's gaze swept across the leader. After his cold and emotionless voice fell, he raised his right hand and pointed it at the younger generation of the Du family. Chi. Chun Nan's right hand slashed horizontally and several golden rays shot out like the Grim Reaper's scythe. In an instant, a pile of corpses appeared on the ground and blood flowed like a river. Seeing Chu Bei's method, the leader was stunned. The weakest among them had a cultivation of 3rd stage. If it was outside, they would be proud sons of the heavens. However, they were all killed in one move. Chapter 390. Why aren't you calling Du Hai and Du Tao over? Remember to tell them that my name is Chun Nan. Chun Nan's cold voice echoed in the sky. Hearing the two names from Chan Nan's mouth, the patrol leader of the Du family was stunned. After reacting, he looked at Chan Nan in fear and ran in the direction he came from. Half an hour later, several rainbows flew over from the east. Chun Nan, the person in the image is indeed you. Thousands of years have passed, but you still came. The sound of something breaking through the air came from afar. Before the person arrived, an old sigh floated over. Then, hundreds of figures appeared in the line of sight of Chu Bei and the rest. The person in the lead was a stooped old man with white hair and a beard. These hundreds of people flew over, and it was obvious that they had entered the sixth stage. In the outside world, a sixth-stage powerhouse was enough to support a force. It had to be said that the Du family's foundation was far superior to the major forces in the outside world. Old ancestor, who is he? He actually made you come out of seclusion personally. With your cultivation, you have a place even in the heaven realm. Is there a need to deal with such a young boy personally? Why did you call all of us here? The people behind the old man spoke one after another, their words filled with confusion. Of course, there were a few people who had a serious expression. Although they did not know who Chan Nan was, they had personally witnessed the terrifying battle that was projected from the eternal forest. Coincidentally, the terrifying existence in the image was standing right in front of them. He's someone from 10,000 years ago. In terms of status, I have to call him young master. When the stooped old man's hoarse voice fell, the people behind him revealed a look of disbelief. They could not imagine that the young man in front of them was actually their old ancestor's young master. Du Tao, I didn't expect you to know that I'm your young master. Qian Nan looked at the stooped old man expressionlessly. Where's Du Hai? You weren't the only one involved in the incident back then. Du Hai couldn't break through to the Divine King realm and has already passed away. The stooped old man shook his head and sighed. That's too easy for him. Nan looked at the stooped old man and his voice became colder. How do you want to deal with what you did to Yusin back then? I'm afraid Miss Uxian is already an immortal venerable in the heaven realm. Du Tao's sunken eyes flashed with astonishment when he sensed Uxian's God King aura that was above his own. Ancestor, are they here for revenge? What is the relationship between our Du family and them? Ancestor, your great-grandson is willing to fight. Let me test their strength first. Ancestor, with your cultivation, are you afraid that you won't be able to take them down? Furthermore, our Du family has Lord Heavenly Demon overseeing it. Even those big shots from the immortal world wouldn't dare to act rashly here. The Type 6 experts of the Du family looked at Chu Bei's group with hostility. The fury in their eyes seemed to indicate that as long as Du Tao gave the nod, they would not hesitate to use their strongest methods to take down Qian Nan and the rest. All of you, shut up. Hearing the clamor behind him, the hunchbacked old man suddenly turned his head and shouted, I really didn't expect that not only did you break through to the God King realm, you even established a Du family's mystic world. If this Du family's mystic world was outside, not to mention those ordinary forces, even the Holy Lands and the evil path would have to retreat. Qian Nan's cold in the forest's gaze swept across the huge Du family's mystic world, his words filled with sarcasm. Young master, you must be joking. Du Tao cupped his fists towards Qian Nan with a respectful expression. If one didn't look carefully, it would be difficult to notice the flash of ruthlessness in his eyes. If not for Chu Bei's presence, he would have attacked Qian Nan at the first opportunity. Now that we've chatted, we can discuss how to solve the matter of Wanyu. Qian Nan narrowed his eyes. Cold in the forest's gaze locked onto Du Tao, his voice cold. Young master, before you kill me, don't you want to know your father's true identity? Du Tao stole a glance at Chu Bei. When he saw that the other party had an indifferent look on his face, his gaze returned to Qian Nan. Before coming, he had already ordered people to awaken the heavenly demon. As long as the heavenly demon awakened, he would no longer need to fear the terrifying expert of unknown origin beside Qian Nan. What do you mean? Could it be that my father has some special identity? Let's hear it. Thinking of the Chun family mentioned by Uxian and what Du Tao said, Qian Nan immediately asked. Of course, he didn't care about what Du Tao was planning. In his opinion, as long as Chu Bei was here, the outcome wouldn't change. 10,000 years ago, there were some secluded families in the heaven realm. These families were all once heaven realm's great leaders. Among them, the Chen family was one of the most terrifying families. Your father was the 9th person in his generation. He was born with amazing talent and was praised as the pride of his generation. Within a few hundred years of his birth, he broke through to the realm above the divine emperor realm. Moreover, he also controlled a broken world. Because of his talent and intelligence, he was determined by the current Chen family's leader as the best candidate to revive Ancestor Chen. Your father refused to succumb to the fate of dying in order to revive ancestor Chen. Although he resisted with all his might, he was still outnumbered. In the end, he was subdued by the Qin family. His cultivation was sealed and his memories were altered before he was sent to the human realm. After entering the human realm, he became the carefree king and married a woman, giving birth to a baby boy. Speaking until here, Du Tao pointed at Chen Nan. That baby boy is you? Where is this Chen family? Where is my father? Chen Nan frowned. Chu Bei, who was at the side, looked at Du Tao with approval. He did not expect this old fellow to know so much. Chen Zhan, the reincarnation of the ancient madman, was one of the 4 strongest people in the heaven battling battle, along with Dugu Beitian, Demon Lord, and Ghost Lord. What left the deepest impression on Chu Bei was the words he once shouted, "There is no need to revive Ancestor Chen. I will surpass him." Rumble. Just as Chen Nan was waiting for Du Tao to answer his question, an incomparably huge energy fluctuation suddenly erupted from the depths of the mystic world. Immediately after, monstrous demonic qi filled the air. In the blink of an eye, a cloud of black fog appeared above Du Tao. Upon closer inspection, it was a bloody head in the black fog. It was terrifying. Heavenly Demon Lord, the Du family's mystic world has been invaded. The invader has a high cultivation. I have no choice but to ask you to come out. With the arrival of the head in the air, Du Tao immediately revealed the corners of his mouth. When he looked at Chen Nan again, the killing intent in his eyes was undisguised. So you were stalling for time because you had this trick up your sleeve. Chen Nan looked at Du Tao coldly. You really deserve to die. I'll deal with him. After giving Chen Nan a reassuring look, Yu Xian's figure flashed towards Du Tao. Feeling the tyrannical aura coming towards him, Du Tao's face darkened. He hurriedly shouted at the head in the black fog, "Heavenly Demon Lord, please take action." Buzz, buzz, buzz. The heavenly demon head seemed to be responding to Du Tao. It shook slightly, and pitch-black cracks spread out in the void. In an instant, Yu Xian's body seemed to be imprisoned by some invisible force. The attack that was originally charging towards Du Tao dissipated instantly. I've seen you. Although the heavenly demon head imprisoned Yu Xian, it did not do anything to her. Instead, it cast a pair of blood-red eyes on Chu Bei. Hearing the heavenly demon's words, Chu Bei's expression did not change much. The other party must have seen him through the battle in the eternal forest. Are you determined to protect him? Chu Bei met the heavenly demon's gaze. He smiled and pointed at Du Tao calmly. He can't die. I have an agreement with someone to protect the Du family's mystic world. The voice in the black fog was intermittent, but it was full of determination. An agreement with someone? Not only the 6-stage experts of the Du family, but even Du Tao's expression changed when he heard this. They knew that the heavenly demon was the guardian of the Du family's mystic world, but they did not know the reason. Then, do you still remember the name of the person you made an agreement with? Chu Bei looked at the black fog in the sky and asked calmly. Chen, Zhan. 2 heavy syllables came out from the black fog. Hearing this name, Du Tao's body trembled. He had an inexplicable bad feeling in his heart. Then, do you still remember the content of the agreement? Chu Bei said firmly. Wait here. Wait for a person called Chen Nan. Help him. The voice came out from the black fog again. This time, Du Tao's expression changed completely. His eyes were filled with fear. At this time, the 6-stage experts of the Du family behind Du Tao also reacted. They looked at each other in dismay and fear. It's good that you remember. Chu Bei smiled and pointed at Chen Nan. He is the person you are waiting for. Chu Bei still had some impression of this heavenly demon. 10,000 years ago, during the War of the Heavens era, this heavenly demon was also a powerhouse of the 1st stage. As for his identity, he was the son of the ancient taboo god Dugu Beitian and the moon goddess Situ Mingyue. Speaking of which, he and Chen Nan's previous life's Dugu Beitian were half-brothers. He is Chen Nan? A confused voice sounded. A drop of red blood flew out from the black fog. This drop of blood flew to Chen Nan as if it had a mind of its own. After circling around him a few times, it seeped into his glabella. It really is you. The heavenly demon seemed to have been confirmed. There was a hint of excitement in his voice, as if he had been released. The next moment, under everyone's gaze, the heavenly demon's head pierced through the void and entered Chan Nan's body in an instant. Master. Chan Nan looked at Chu Bei with some fear. Don't worry. From now on, you have a powerful helper. Chu Bei smiled and patted Chan Nan's shoulder. As long as it's not harmful to me. Hearing Chu Bei's words, Chan Nan looked down at the miniature head in his chest and let out a long sigh. Du Tao, who was not far away, saw the heavenly demon's head enter Chan Nan's body and his heart sank. At this moment, Yu Xian, who had regained her freedom, attacked Du Tao. Although the battle between a divine king at the Mahayana stage and a divine king at the beginner stage was considered flashy, the battle did not last long. In the end, Du Tao's physical body was destroyed and his soul was destroyed. As for the 6-stage powerhouses, they died in Chan Nan's hands one after another. After the battle, the Du family's mystic world was covered in blood, and the air was filled with the smell of blood. The system has detected that the first-level proxy Yi Fan is in danger. First-level proxy teleportation function activated. The host can resolve the crisis for the first-level proxy. The host can choose a level 18 item during the process. Suddenly, the system's voice sounded in Chu Bei's mind. Hearing this, Chu Bei quickly opened the system interface and saw the name Yi Fan on the proxy column flashing red. Master, what's wrong? Chen Nan, who was at the side, seemed to have sensed something and quickly asked Chu Bei. I have something to do and have to leave for a while. Chu Bei patted Chen Nan's shoulder gently and glanced at Catherine, Yu Xian, and the rest. Chen Nan was stunned at first but quickly recovered and asked tentatively, Master, are you going to the heavens beyond heaven? You can say that. As soon as Chu Bei said that with a smile, his divine telekinesis moved. Rumble. In the next moment, there was a roar and the void in front of Chu Bei began to distort. Then, a blue intersecting wheel slowly appeared. At the top of the wheel, the words, planar spacetime wheel, were particularly eye-catching. Looking at it carefully, there was a blue passage in the wheel that was woven by the river of time. Chu Bei took a step forward, stepped into the spacetime wheel, and disappeared. Chapter 391. When Chu Bei emerged from the spacetime wheel, what entered his field of vision was a reddish-brown land stained with blood. The boundless brown land was cold and dry, desolate and empty. There were some huge rocks scattered on the ground. At first glance, they looked like tombstones. The world was dark and gloomy, and a faint black fog added a gloomy feeling to this world. This boundless region was distant and deathly still, without the slightest sign of life. Origin ancient mine. Chu Bei was taken aback, but he quickly recognized this somewhat familiar region. It was one of the 7 forbidden zones of Shrouded Heaven Plain. Rumble, rumble, rumble. It was also at this moment that a terrifying energy fluctuation spread out from the eastern region of the ancient mine. The void rumbled and collapsed one after another. Chu Bei looked to the east, frowned, and then vanished. When Chu Bei arrived at the eastern region of Origin Ancient Mine, he saw countless figures at the edge, all of them nervously looking at the distant sky. Among these figures, there were several that Chu Bei recognized. Look over there. Someone else is coming. Who is that? He looks a little familiar, like I've seen him somewhere before. It's Boss Chu. He's back. Haha, if it's really him, then Celestial Emperor Yi also has a helper. Gradually, some people noticed Chu Bei's arrival. When they saw Chu Bei's appearance, some existences who had lived for a long time hurriedly stepped forward and bowed. Among them were Jiang Taishu, Duanda, and the others. Chu Bei nodded to Jiang Taishu, Duanda, and the others before turning his gaze to the distant sky. There was a battlefield, and a terrifying aura permeated the air. On the battlefield, a massive cauldron soared through the air, its might shaking the heavens, its terrifying aura shattering the void. Stars revolved around the cauldron, and the cauldron gushed with myriad source energy. The cauldron walls made of immortal metal were stained with blood. As for the mouth of the cauldron, there were bolts of lightning floating up and down. Black, purple, green. All kinds of bolts of lightning covered the cauldron. There were even some bolts of lightning that had evolved into the appearance of ancient divine beasts. Just by looking at them, one could not help but kowtow and worship. They were emitting an indescribably terrifying might. And on top of the cauldron, there was a man. His stalwart body was covered in blood, and he stood there like a celestial emperor. On the other side of the tall and sturdy male was a creature with 8 wings on its back. There was a single horn on its head, and boundless blood energy pervaded the air. Stars appeared around its body. Yifan, we've been plotting for years. This time, you must die. The 8-winged spirit brought Yifan to a new battlefield in space. It flapped its 8 wings and covered the stars. The galaxy behind it pulsed, and with a boom, it extended a huge claw towards Yifan, who was above the cauldron. Even if I die, I will drag you down with me. This is our burial ground. Yifan seemed to have experienced countless peak battles. At this moment, he seemed to have reached the end of his life. Boom! As the emotionless voice fell, Yifan's body shone brightly. In an instant, his black hair was almost dyed blue. He stepped on the myriad chi cauldron, and myriad chi surrounded his body. His aura skyrocketed. In the next moment, he faced the 8-winged spirit and threw out a punch. It was simple and violent. At a closer look, the surface of his fist was wrapped in 9-colored lightning, and various strange phenomena could be vaguely seen. The power of that punch appeared as if it was unparalleled and eternally invincible. Even the space in the battlefield where he was stirred up by that punch. It was extremely terrifying. The fist and claw collided, and the battlefield was filled with chaos. The two figures intertwined and separated at the same time. There was blood in their mouths. Obviously, the spirit was also very powerful. It was one of the great beings in the Forbidden Zone, and it was not weaker than Yifan. If you've rested enough, come at me together. I'm not afraid. Suddenly, Yifan spoke, and his cold gaze swept across the surroundings. Rumble. As Yifan's voice fell, the space in the battlefield where he was in an uproar, and a terrifying and strange sound rang out. At that moment, the experts outside the Primordium Ancient Mine were all looking at the battlefield where Yifan was in nervously. In front of Yifan, other than the 8-winged spirit, 6 other figures appeared. The first figure had long golden hair that fell to his waist. He was indescribably handsome and had a pair of golden wings on his back. He was extraordinary and had an ethereal temperament. The second figure was a white tiger spirit. In the sky above his head, the starry sky phenomenon appeared, and thousands of stars flowed in his eyes. The third figure was wearing azure gold battle armor. Even his face was covered, only revealing a pair of purple eyes. When his eyes shot out, the starry sky trembled. In terms of aura, the 6 figures that appeared were not inferior to the 8-winged spirit. There was no doubt that they were all great emperors who had once suppressed an era, terrifying existences hidden in the Forbidden Zone. Yifan, at our level, it's indeed a little unreasonable for us to join forces to deal with you. However, your talent is too terrifying. If you continue to grow, the Forbidden Zone will truly cease to exist. We will not allow that to happen, said the handsome golden-haired man. To be able to get the 7 of you to accompany me, this great world will be peaceful for tens of thousands of years. The stalwart man suddenly wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and laughed at the sky. You really think too highly of yourself. The 7 figures looked at Yifan with disdain. As Cold in the Forest shout fell, their figures moved at the same time. From different directions, they waved their supreme paragon skills and attacked Yifan. Fight! There was no fear on Yifan's face. He stepped on the cauldron and pushed the power of lightning to meet the 7 beings. Rumble. In an instant, the battlefield in the starry sky was ignited, and thousands of stars revolved in reverse. The stalwart man was surrounded by the 7 beings and bathed in blood. He was very powerful, and every move he made was accompanied by destructive lightning from the 9 heavens. However, the 7 beings were also extremely powerful. The aura they released when they moved shook the surrounding stars. The stalwart man was bleeding, and the injuries on his body were getting worse. His aura was also becoming chaotic. However, his 7 opponents were not unscathed as their flesh and blood would explode from time to time. How many years have passed since I left? Chu Bei muttered to himself. Yi Fan had become a great emperor and had even begun to flatten the forbidden zone. In the battlefield in the starry sky, as the battle became more intense, the myriad chi cauldron under Yi Fan's feet had already cracked in several places. It seemed like it would completely collapse at any time. The 9 heavens vision on his body seemed like it would disappear at any time. Looks like we were right to join forces. If we let you continue to grow, we will be the ones to die. The 7 figures looked at each other and moved together again. They charged toward Yi Fan with terrifying power. In an instant, the 8 figures on the battlefield struck out with the most terrifying laws in the world. Every punch and kick caused light to surge and time to surge. They were powerful to the extreme. As they waved their hands, the starry sky trembled and everything was destroyed. Lin, Bing, Do, Zhe, Jie. Number, Group, Qian, Xing. 9 heavens lightning fall. Cauldron suppression. At this moment, the stalwart figure who was like a heavenly emperor shouted coldly. His voice spread to everyone's ears from an endless distance away. It was extremely majestic and grand. As he spat out golden blood, the 9 runes turned into 9 balls of light and merged with the lightning. They entered the myriad chi cauldron that was on the verge of collapse. In the end, the cauldron erupted with boundless power and evolved a supreme secret technique that pierced through everything in its way. Boom! Finally, the cauldron smashed onto the 8-winged living being's body, bringing about a violent explosion. Amidst the mighty trembling sound, the 8-winged living being coughed up blood and was sent flying. However, at this moment, the attacks of the handsome golden-haired man and the other 5 came from different directions. The golden-haired man's attack was the first to reach Yi Fan. With a loud roar, the sky collapsed and ghosts wailed. The surface of his fist was burning with fluorescent light that was countless times brighter than the stars and moons in the sky. He condensed the power of the galaxy with supreme laws and punched out. His aura rose to the extreme. Yi Fan's pupils constricted, and he hurriedly blocked with the myriad chi cauldron. Clang! With a shocking explosion, the myriad chi cauldron released a dazzling divine light and then expanded and exploded. The broken fragments of the cauldron shot into the sky as if it was collapsing the sky, bringing with it terrifying pitch-black holes. Although the golden-haired man's attack was successfully blocked, Yi Fan was unable to dodge the attacks of the remaining 5. Pooh! Yi Fan was hit by a living being in azure gold armor. His chest was directly penetrated and blood spurted out as he staggered back. Another creature followed, its movements large and wide, majestic and just. It grabbed his arms and then fiercely tore at him. With a ripping sound, Yi Fan's right arm was torn in half. There was another living being who took out an emperor artifact. It was a 7-colored gourd. The mouth of the gourd shone and swallowed the galaxy, trying to suck Yi Fan in. The other experts from the other space-time who were watching the battle glanced at Yi Fan and shook their heads with pity in their eyes. Yi Fan, are you still going to struggle pointlessly? The golden-haired man shouted and gathered his strength again. He wanted to kill Yi Fan with an unstoppable force. Yi Fan snorted and clenched his fists. Lightning surged and flashed with all kinds of strange lightning. There was no lack of humanoid lightning among them. It had already surpassed the heavenly tribulation. Rumble. The fierce battle continued. At the same time, Chu Bei also took a step forward. He watched the battle first because he wanted to see how powerful Yi Fan was and whether he could defeat the 7 figures who had joined forces. However, no matter how strong Yi Fan was, he was no match for the 7 of them. As the system said, he was in danger. Chu Bei used the level 18 commodity rights. As he took a step forward, star fields wrapped around millions of stars evolved behind him, releasing the power of the stars. He's going. Boss Chu is going to make a move. Great, with him joining, Emperor Yi will be fine. Duanda, Ji Ziyue, Jiang Taishu, and the others were excited. At the same time, in the star battlefield, the 8-winged being and the golden-haired man were spread out in a circle, each taking one side. They released a terrifying aura. Under the terrifying aura, The stars under their feet shook, and the power of the stars formed vortexes. They surrounded Yi Fan in the middle. From time to time, someone would rush forward and fight with him. Then, they would retreat and another person would fight. Chapter 392. On the battlefield, Yi Fan's primordial spirit was almost separated from his body. His aura was extremely weak, and his tense body seemed to be on the verge of cracking. It was as if he would explode at any moment. Although the eight-winged living being and the golden-haired man were also severely injured and bleeding nonstop, they were far better off than Yi Fan. "Let's see how long you can last," the eight-winged living being shouted. It was his turn to attack. As he took a step forward, the tens of thousands of stars above his head cracked and exploded at the same time. The power of the stars from the explosion gathered in his body. In the next moment, he stepped on the sea of stars. With a raise of his hand, the stars were destroyed as if he was creating a new world. The power of the stars in the surroundings evolved in his palm, forming a universe that contained countless stars, including the famous celestial mountain. With a flip of his hand, he wanted to grab Yi Fan, suppress him, and refine him alive. Bang! Yi Fan did not retreat. The blood essence in his body condensed into a blood bead that burned fiercely. Then, he pointed with his finger, and a beam of light flew out with the power of thunder to destroy eternity. With a loud bang, the stars in the sea and the eight-winged living being's palm exploded and turned into dust. The universe in his palm was cut apart. "You can't do it in the end." The eight-winged living being suddenly laughed because Yi Fan's finger could only block half of his palm's power. The remaining half of his palm slammed down. With a buzzing sound, the half of his palm covered Yi Fan with the power of the stars. The terrifying power contained in it poured into his body. With an explosion, Yi Fan's body exploded into billions of pieces of flesh and blood. However, Yi Fan's body soon reassembled and appeared in front of the eight-winged living being again. The eight-winged living being was not shocked by Yi Fan's revival. At their level, it was not easy to kill the other party completely. The eight-winged living being retreated and returned to his original position. It was the golden-haired man's turn to attack. "If I were you, I would rather self-destruct and die. Perhaps there would be a day of reincarnation." The golden-haired man narrowed his eyes and looked at Qian Nan coldly. The reason why they retreated after unleashing their strongest attack was that they were worried that they would be dragged down by Yi Fan before he died. At their level, no one cared about their lives. "Kill." The golden-haired man's hair fluttered in the wind. Each strand of hair was sparkling and translucent. His eyes were as deep as the ocean. He held a seal and charged towards Yi Fan. In terms of strength, he was the one who became a great emperor, the earliest among the eight, including Yi Fan. "Leave the rest to me." However, just as the golden-haired man's supreme paragon technique was about to land on Yi Fan's body, a cold and indifferent voice suddenly rang out from the battlefield. In the next moment, a man in a green robe appeared in front of Yi Fan out of thin air. His hands were behind his back, and he looked very calm. There were no aura fluctuations coming from his body. If he had not appeared in the Star Wars battlefield, one would have thought that he was just an ordinary person. Buzz. The moment he appeared, a layer of ripples spread out with him as the center. It was also at this moment that the golden-haired man's world-destroying attack collapsed on its own. As expected of Boss Chu, he didn't even make a move, and he neutralized the attack of that supreme existence in the Forbidden Zone. He has another identity, the owner of the All-Heaven Shop. At the edge of Origin Ancient Mine, there was an endless clamor. "It's you." Looking at the green-robed man who suddenly appeared in front of Yi Fan, the eight-winged being and the purple-haired old man frowned with vigilance on their faces. Although they had never interacted with this person before, they had seen him before. Back then, they had seen him suppress Undying Mountain's Stone Emperor with their own eyes. "Boss, you're back." Looking at the familiar figure, Yi Fan was stunned at first. He immediately cupped his fists and bowed to Chu Bei with a respectful expression. Chu Bei turned around and helped Yi Fan up. After nodding slightly, he looked at the eight-winged being, the golden-haired man, and the others, and his eyes narrowed. Immediately, two beams of light shot out from Chu Bei's eyes, and the shaking starry sky was suddenly sealed. In an instant, the battlefield seemed to have fallen into eternal silence. Sensing the terrifying pressure that enveloped them, the eight-winged being, the purple-haired old man, and the golden-haired man's faces turned gray. However, just as the majestic immortal power in their bodies surged out to form a defensive barrier outside their bodies, the destructive beam of light had already arrived. Whoosh! The beam of light was like a sword, and it almost instantly broke through the eight-winged being and the purple-haired old man's defensive barrier. The eight-winged being and the purple-haired old man's bodies were also broken, along with their primordial spirits. To be more precise, it wasn't broken, but directly exploded. The two of them didn't even have time to scream. Under the two beams of light, their bodies and primordial spirits were directly annihilated, dissipating in the sky above the realm sea. Dead, they're dead. Sensing that the eight-winged being and the purple-haired old man's auras had disappeared, and that they hadn't revived, a trace of fear flashed through the golden-haired man's eyes. This so-called boss Chu before him seemed to be even more powerful and terrifying than when he fought Stone Emperor back then. You've entered that realm. Immortal, you're an immortal. Suddenly, the golden-haired man seemed to have guessed something. His body couldn't help but tremble, and his voice trembled. If there was an existence that could easily kill an emperor, it could only be the legendary immortal. Let's go. After confirming that Chu Bei had become a true immortal, including the golden-haired man, the other 5 restricted region overlords all revealed terrified and uneasy expressions, unable to produce the slightest will to fight at all. Even though there was only a single realm between an emperor and a true immortal, in terms of strength, it was like the gap between heaven and earth, an insurmountable chasm. However, right when the golden-haired man and the other 4 prepared to leave the battlefield, preparing to flee into the distance, strange ripples spread out from this battlefield. In an instant, this battlefield was sealed up. Even someone as powerful as an emperor couldn't leave. So what if you're an immortal? At worst, you'll just die. This was a white-clothed man, in his hand a spotlessly white bone flute. He stood in the void, his clothes fluttering, giving off an ethereal feeling, as if he didn't eat the food of mortals. He blew the bone flute, turning back and charging towards Chu Bei. Behind him, tens of thousands of streaks of light shot out, every single one like the tail light of a comet, flickering with resplendent divine radiance above the realm sea, the surrounding space even splitting apart. He carried tens of thousands of dazzling streaks of light, as if the universe's emperor star smashed down from beyond the heavens. Groups of stars protected him, dazzling to the extreme, impossible to look directly at. Right now, he condensed a fist imprint, wishing to directly blast Chu Bei to pieces. One could see that his golden fist imprint was burning, golden blood energy spreading, making the stellar battlefield tremble again, shaking. The fist imprint shone, auspicious brilliance released in tens of thousands of streaks. There was a bit of fine golden light that seeped out, breaking through the obstruction of the great river of time. This fist had previously blasted Yi Fan's body to pieces twice. Hong. However, before the fist imprint that carried heaven overflowing might arrived before Chu Bei, a great rumbling noise sounded. It was smashed to pieces by Chu Bei's light palm, turning into a rain of light. After breaking down the white-clothed man's attack like breaking rotten wood, Chu Bei's right palm slapped out again, striking towards the white-clothed man. Chu Bei's palm released tens of thousands of streaks of auspicious brilliance, instantly covering the white-clothed man. The latter seemed to have been frozen in place by a formless force. Before he could even react, his body and primordial spirit exploded. 9 Heavens Illusion Art. Great Development 7 Transformations. Heavenly Will Corpse Fire. 6 Wu Seal. The white-clothed man died, including the blonde man. The remaining 4 restricted region overlords looked at Chu Bei with more and more fear. Immediately afterwards, the 4 of them exchanged glances, their figures moving at the same time. The starry sky was restricted. They had no choice but to use their most powerful attacks at the same time, attacking Chu Bei. Chi. Dark light exploded, the starry sky surged. A giant wolf claw tore through the sky, attacking fiercely, about to blast Chu Bei to death. That was a wolf-shaped creature, many stars revolving around its claws, its aura terrifying. Its entire body was pitch black, its sinister bloody mouth spitting out black flames. At the same time, a violent gale swept through the starry sky. A blue rock spread its giant wings. Behind it was the nine heavens phenomenon, changing from time to time, pouncing over, flapping its wings, about to rip apart Chu Bei's skull. The third restricted region overlord opened its mouth, releasing a roar, silver light gushing out like a river of stars. Death chi filled the air. The silver light expanded, shooting towards Chu Bei's chest. It was an old corpse, all skin and bones, like a skeleton, glowing with faint golden light. Its eye sockets were sunken, its aura terrifying. The fourth great emperor was a golden-haired man. His hair fluttered in the wind, and each strand was sparkling and translucent. His eyes were as deep as the ocean as he formed a seal and blasted it towards Chu Bei. Facing the strongest attacks of the four great emperors, Chu Bei was not afraid. His emotions did not fluctuate at all, as if he did not care about the four of them at all. He waved his right hand, and a 10-colored long sword appeared in his hand. Vaguely, there were 10 different phenomenons playing out in the sword. Let's start with you. Chu Bei glanced indifferently at the wolf-shaped creature in front of him first, speaking 8 syllables emotionlessly. He raised the 10-colored long sword in his hand and swung it through the air. As he swung the sword, there was a strange fluctuation in the void, and a sword radiance formed by 10-colored light shot out like lightning. Wherever it passed, the starry sky battlefield was split into 2. When the sword was swung, the wolf-shaped creature sensed it. Feeling the terrifying aura of the sword radiance, fear flashed across its eyes, and it let out a low growl. In the next moment, its head, body, arms, and half of its body were covered in layers of scales. These scales were glowing with a strange light, as if they were indestructible. However, even such a strong defense could not withstand a single blow from the 10-colored sword radiance, collapsing immediately. Then, the 10-colored sword radiance penetrated into the wolf-shaped great emperor's body, and violent energy exploded. Rumble. In the earth-shattering explosion, the power of stars on the battlefield, driven by the 10-colored radiance, formed a huge energy tornado. With the wolf-shaped great emperor as the center, it swept across the battlefield. Is Boschu really a deity? The sword of a deity is indeed terrifying. Even the overlords in the forbidden area can't withstand it. At the edge of the primordium ancient mine, many eyes were filled with shock as they looked at the center of the explosion that was filled with the 10-colored radiance in the starry sky battlefield. Under the destructive power, even the wolf-shaped creature, the overlord of the forbidden area, did not even have time to struggle in pain. With a loud bang, its body and soul exploded and dissipated at the same time. Damn it, this is not a power on the same level. The golden-haired man gasped at the wolf-shaped great emperor's death. When he looked at Chu Bei again, his eyes were filled with regret. Die. Another cold syllable came from Chu Bei's mouth. At this moment, the blue rock's body trembled, and its face changed. Tilting its head, it saw Chu Bei swinging the 10-colored sword in his hand again, and the sword radiance shot out toward it. The blue rock's pupils contracted rapidly, but no matter how it flapped its wings and used the supreme power of space, it was to no avail. Its body seemed to be bound by the sword radiance. The sea of stars boiled, and a huge tsunami was formed as it rolled. A similar scene played out again. The 10-colored sword radiance slashed the blue rock's body. The energy storm contained within the sword radiance was like a natural disaster in the void. There were blazing flames, thunderbolts from the 9 heavens, yellow sand that filled the sky, and black snowflakes. They intertwined with each other, releasing destructive shockwaves. With a bang, the blue rock's body and primordial spirit exploded and dissipated. No, I haven't become a deity yet. I don't want to die. Looking at the blue rock that had also died, the skinny old corpse, who was the third overlord of the forbidden area, turned completely pale. Extreme fear rose in his eyes, and his body trembled. In front of the legendary deities, their strongest attacks were so powerless. They were really like ants. The old corpse directly gave up his original attack. In front of fear, his body became 10,000 feet tall, and his fleshless hands tore the void frantically. He wanted to escape. Don't waste your energy. With a faint sigh that carried a mocking smile, Chu Bei's figure disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already in the air above the old corpse. Compared to the 10,000 feet tall old corpse, Chu Bei seemed particularly small, but the aura released by the 10-colored sword in his hand was far stronger than the old corpse's. Chapter 393. We've already submitted. Why can't you let us go? On the battlefield, the 30,000-foot-old corpse, who was also an overlord of the Forbidden Zone, looked at the 10-colored sword in Chu Bei's hand. His pupils constricted, and he let out a roar of unwillingness. As his roar fell, the 30,000-foot-old corpse opened his ferocious mouth, and a beam of light tens of thousands of feet long shot out with a boom. The terrifying destructive power contained in the beam of light directly tore open a pitch-black gap in the starry sky, and dark corpse water flowed within. Swish! This time, Chu Bei directly slashed down with the sword, landing on the 30,000-foot-old corpse's body. In an instant, the 30,000-foot-old corpse's body was split into two from the center of his brows, and golden blood flowed like a river of time. Following that, the sword trembled and turned into a black hole, devouring the old corpse's flesh, blood, and primordial spirit. No, the golden-haired man was even more terrified, and he used all his strength to break through the barrier. However, there was not even a crack on the barrier, and a chill rose behind him. The golden-haired man knew that Chu Bei had swung his sword again, and it was coming at him. Turning his head, the 10-colored sword light was rapidly expanding. In an instant, it was right in front of him. Swish! The sword blade slashed across, and the golden-haired man's eyes became unfocused, and his body was also split in two. The bloody scene played out again. Golden blood fell into the sea like a waterfall, causing a blinding light to rise. The 10-colored sword arrived above the golden-haired man's corpse and slowly rotated, absorbing it along with his dissipating primordial spirit. The battle is over. In front of an immortal, not to mention us, even the overlords of the Forbidden Zones are insignificant. They can't resist at all. Is this the owner of the All-Heaven shop, Boschu? At the edge of Primordium Ancient Mine, countless spectators stared blankly at the battlefield in the starry sky. Their gazes fell on the 10-colored sword and Chu Bei, and they all muttered to themselves in a daze. 4 swords, 1 overlord of a forbidden zone each. Great. Boss Chu killed them all. Duanda, Jiang Taishu, and the others all cast their gazes on Chu Bei. After recovering from the shock, they revealed excited expressions. Boss, sorry to trouble you. At this moment, Yifan had also recovered slightly. Looking at the battlefield that had been cleaned up, he bowed to Chu Bei again. I didn't expect you to have grown to this extent. Chu Bei waved his sleeve, and the 10-colored long sword in his hand disappeared. It turned into a rain of light and entered his body. The host has resolved Yifan's crisis. Return to the Divine Tomb Plane immediately. 15 minutes later. Boss, why are you leaving so soon? Ji Ziyue, Jiang Tingting, Yifan, and the others looked at Chu Bei reluctantly. I still have some unfinished business. When Chu Bei remembered that he still had a mission to complete in the Divine Tomb Dimension, he had no choice but to return after a short conversation with Yifan and the others. With a thought from Chu Bei, the space-time will reappeared. Chu Bei stepped in and disappeared from everyone's sight. The Divine Tomb Plane. It had been 10,000 years since Chu Bei left. In a divine garden in the heaven realm, there was laughter and laughter. The fragrance of spiritual herbs, the glow of precious trees, the flying of red-crowned cranes, the white ape offering peaches, and the longevity deer holding Ganoderma. It made this place look even more sacred and peaceful. Chun Nan, congratulations on successfully breaking through and entering the heaven realm. In the garden, a five-clawed divine dragon that looked like it was drunk, swaying and patting the arm of a young man. In this era where all the heaven realm cultivators are sent to the third realm, this dragon baby will rely on you to protect me from now on. At this moment, a small dragon that had not yet grown up patted its round belly and flew to the right shoulder of the young man. The two dragons, one big and one small, were the purple gold divine dragon and the dragon baby. As for the young man, it was Chunnan. The cultivation system in the divine tomb, from bottom to top, was Level 1, Level 2, Level 3, Level 4, Level 5, Level 6 True Martial, Level 7 Immortal, Divine King, Divine Emperor, and Heaven Realm. In the human realm, Level 5 was already a peerless expert. As for Level 7 Immortal, it was enough to establish a foothold in the Heaven Realm. As for the Divine King, it was already considered a big shot in the Heaven Realm and could start a sect to preach. Now, Chunnan had already entered the Heaven Realm. In this era where all the Heaven Realm cultivators were banished to the Third Realm, he could be said to be standing at the peak. In the blink of an eye, I have finally reached this realm. Chunnan looked into the distance and sighed faintly. No one knew what he was thinking about. Brat Chunnan, do you think that old lunatic, the Devil Master, will sense your cultivation level and come out of the third realm to send you in as well? The purple gold divine dragon said drunkenly as he swirled the wine cup in his claws. That day, the Demon Lord, one of the 6 Pathmasters, woke up and used the diagram of gods and demons to banish all the Heaven Realm cultivators to the third realm, which was the so-called 18 levels of hell. They witnessed the Demon Lord using the diagram of gods and demons to threaten the sleeping Heaven Realm cultivators to enter the 18 levels of hell one by one. Since then, there were no more Heaven Realm cultivators in the human realm and the Heaven Realm. The third realm? Even if he doesn't invite me, I will still go in. Chunnan narrowed his eyes and muttered to himself, "Brother, do you still remember, Master?" That day, Uncle Demon Lord didn't seem to find him. A delicate doll-like little girl raised her head and looked at Chunnan with her big watery eyes. Even if thousands of years have passed, Brother will never forget Master. It's all thanks to him that Big Brother can achieve what he has today. Chunnan carried little Chen-Shi, and the diagram of gods and demons appeared behind him, releasing an unparalleled power. But why can't we find him? A beautiful woman in white walked over and hugged Chunnan from behind as she murmured softly, "Don't worry, Brother Chunnan. The heavens beyond heaven must be beyond the 6 realms. That's why the Demon Lord can't find Master." Chunnan replied. The image of a young man from a long time ago appeared in his mind, an existence that was both his master and his father. It was that person who gave him the inheritance of light and the powerful support of the celestial shop. He also allowed him to find Uxian, allowing him to walk smoothly on the path of cultivation. There's been no news of him for so many years. I'm afraid he has already passed away. Or perhaps he was killed by the so-called heavens. The purple gold divine dragon took 2 big gulps of wine and muttered, "Brother Chunnan, this master you speak of, we've heard from you many times. What kind of person is he?" In the celestial garden, there were many people who came to congratulate Chunnan. There was no lack of divine emperors who had awakened from their slumber for nearly 1,000 years. The person who asked the question was in existence at the peak of the divine emperor realm, an old man who had been in seclusion for thousands of years. In the Heaven Realm, he was called the Elder of the South Sea. Master is on the same level as the Demon Lord. Chunnan didn't say much and just replied casually. However, this simple evaluation caused the group of powerful cultivators in the Immortal Garden to reveal astonished expressions. Who was the Demon Lord? An ancient taboo existence who could kill the heavens but didn't die. His remnant soul had awakened, and with the celestial demon diagram, he had forced all the heavenly realm experts to enter the third realm. "Chunnan, come and fight me." Just as the cultivators were about to continue questioning Chunnan about his master, a long howl came from the distant horizon. The loud demonic sound was deafening, like raging waves crashing against the shore. Terrifying demonic aura swept over from the distant horizon like a tsunami. The originally sacred and peaceful celestial garden was swallowed up in an instant. The The powerful demonic aura was terrifying and chilling. This voice, could it be the Fifth Realm's 7 primordial sovereigns? Hey Chi, how long has it been? He's already broken free? No, that's impossible. If it's really him, the celestial realm and the human realm will change. The sudden howl caused the expressions of the divine kings and divine emperors in the celestial garden to change. It's really him, the sovereign king of the Fifth Realm. Who can stop him? In the distant horizon, a black figure appeared above the celestial garden in an instant. When the celestial realm experts, including the divine emperors, saw the appearance of the black figure, their pupils shrank rapidly. Fear filled their eyes. They looked at each other in disbelief. Their eyes were filled with fear and uneasiness. During the primordial age, he was one of the 7 sovereigns who was invited to destroy the firmament realm. He was an important figure who shook the 6 realms. His fame was comparable to the demon lord and Dugu Baitian. No one expected that in just a few years, this unparalleled madman had broken free and crossed realms to come here. Everyone knew that the hatred between him and Chen Nan couldn't be quelled. There would be a huge storm coming. Chun Nan's face darkened. He had a premonition that Hei Chi was about to break free, but he didn't expect it to be so soon. Yu Xian, little Chen Shi, and Catherine also had grave expressions on their faces. Chen Nan, if it weren't for your trap, Old 6 and Old 7 wouldn't have been sent to the Third Realm. Unparalleled sovereign Hei Chi looked at Chen Nan coldly. His voice was filled with killing intent. His roar shook the heavens and earth. In the next moment, endless demonic clouds rose from his body as if he wanted to break through the heaven realm. This strange phenomenon shocked the divine kings in the celestial garden to the extreme. If you want to fight, then let's fight. Qian Nan turned into a flash of light and faced sovereign Hei Chi. The Tai Chi godly demon diagram in his body spun wildly. At the same time, endless divine light surrounded him, releasing a blinding golden light. He and the 7 sovereigns were already in a situation where only one of them would die. It was useless to say anything more. Brother Chin Nan, if you need us, we can help at any time. Elder Nan Hai clenched his fist. His voice was heavy. Primordial sovereign Hei Chi was in existence who had experienced the battle of the firmament realm. His strength was already at the peak of the heaven realm. Although Chan Nan was strong, he had just stepped into the heaven realm. He believed that if Chan Nan was given another 1,000 or even 100 years, he would be able to fight sovereign Hei Chi. But now, he was no match for him. Today, not only you, Chan Nan, but the entire heaven realm will be buried with you. Hei Chi was expressionless. His loud roar swept across the sky. Let me help you. Yu Xian flew to Chun Nan's side. She formed a seal with both hands and summoned a meteor from outer space. An endless meteor shower streaked across the sky of the heaven realm. It whistled and smashed towards primordial sovereign Hei Chi. The terrifying energy waves made people tremble in fear. Seeing this, Elder Nan Hai also prepared 3 sets of terrifying sword formations. Tens of thousands of dazzling divine swords surged with endless killing intent. They surrounded sovereign Hei Chi from different directions. The light of a firefly dares to compete with the light of the moon? You're overestimating yourself. Hei Chi did not dodge. With just a glance, he shattered Yu Xian and Elder Nan Hai's attacks. Is this the peerless sovereign Hei Chi from the 5th realm? He's too scary. It's just a glance, but he destroyed Elder Nan Hai and Fairy Wuqing's attacks. They are both peak divine emperors, the strongest under the heaven realm. Just how terrifying is Hei Chi's strength? In the celestial garden, the divine kings looked at the black figure above with fear in their eyes. Chen Nan, die! Hei Chi shouted coldly. His huge demonic body was as heavy as a mountain. His bronze skin showed the endless power contained within. His black hair danced wildly. His eyes were filled with endless killing intent. Behind him, the souls of the 400,000 divine demons roared. This was the aura of a peerless overlord descending upon the world. Fight! Chun Nan's face became more serious. With a cold shout, the pellet of light appeared in his body. Endless golden light gathered on the surface of his fist. At the same time, The divine demon diagram in his body floated up and down, releasing another terrifying power. Boom! Chunnan punched directly at Heiqi. Suddenly, tens of thousands of divine lights surged towards Heiqi like swords. You're just a junior. Heiqi glanced at Chunnan disdainfully. His 10-foot-tall demonic body was filled with explosive power as if it was cast from steel. He punched out as well. The tens of thousands of divine lights were shattered into a meteor shower. Then, the sovereign king Heiqi roared into the sky. He opened his mouth and swallowed the meteor shower into his mouth like a tornado. In the celestial garden, the divine kings looked at the battlefield. Their hearts trembled. This sovereign king Heiqi was too powerful. Chunnan was already the #1 person in the heaven realm. However, in the eyes of the sovereign king, he was no different from an ant. Bang! With a shocking explosion, Chunnan flew out of the battlefield and spat out blood. Chunnan, let's see how many punches you can take. Heiqi laughed. The 400,000 divine demons behind him roared together. Their voices shook the heavens and earth. Dragon, it seems like Big Brother can't beat that bad guy. What should we do now? Little Dawn shook the purple gold divine dragon and the baby dragon with an anxious expression. Heiqi is an old monster from the primordial age. How can Chunnan defeat him? Looking at the bloody Chunnan on the battlefield, the purple gold divine dragon roared, Chunnan, your Lord Dragon is here to help. Don't come over. However, before the purple gold divine dragon joined the battle, Chunnan shouted. Then, as if he had made a decision, he turned into a flash of light and flew towards the east. Do you think you can escape? In the sky, Heiqi looked invincible. With a cold snort, he chased after Chunnan. Chunnan is going in the direction of Fengdu Mountain. Let's follow him. Looking at the direction Chunnan had left in, all the experts, including Uxian and Elder Nanhai, were stunned. When they came back to their senses, they were shocked. Then, they turned into divine rainbows and chased after him. Fengdu Mountain. This was a huge mountain that stood between heaven and earth. An energy shrouded the surroundings. A dark and sinister aura covered the sky. If there was a creepy and terrifying place, it would be the bottomless pit at the top of the mountain. It was releasing a dark light. Heiqi, you bastard, come over here. Chunnan turned around and glanced at Heiqi. Then, he jumped into the pit. Die. Without any hesitation, Heiqi turned into a ray of black light and jumped into the pit with Chunnan, stirring up monstrous devil chi. Chapter 394. Chunnan jumped into the sinkhole. Crazy. He's crazy. There's a terrifying existence sealed in the sinkhole. He had no choice. In the distance, a group of god kings who had rushed over happened to witness the scene of Chunnan and Heiqi jumping into the sinkhole. All of them were stunned. Oh my dragon god, in order to protect us, Chunnan and Heiqi perished together. The baby dragon roared into the sky. That's just my light clone. I'm not that stupid. At this moment, dazzling light particles appeared beside Uxian and Qin Shi and condensed into Chunnan's appearance. However, his face was obviously pale. It was obvious that condensing this light clone that could fool Heiqi had consumed a lot of his energy. At this moment, Chunnan looked at the dark sinkhole with a mocking expression as if he was watching a show. Chunnan, you bastard. How dare you trick me? A moment later, accompanied by an earth-shattering rumble, the entire Fengdu Mountain instantly changed and the sky lost its color. Immediately after, Heiqi's angry roar came from the bottomless sinkhole. Even this can't kill him. Let's retreat. Hearing Heiqi's angry roar, Chunnan's expression changed. He immediately called the god kings behind him and quickly flew into the distance. He's already strong enough to fight the demonic creature in the sinkhole. The group of god kings was stunned. They sensed the endless, terrifying aura coming from the sinkhole as if the sky and earth were about to shatter. At this moment, it was as if a tsunami had occurred in Fengdu Mountain. All the peaks shook violently like waves and collapsed. Then, new peaks surged and endless energy instantly enveloped the sky and earth. In an instant, the place was completely covered in darkness. Even the group of god kings and god kings felt an inexplicable sense of fear. Oh heavens! What kind of demonic creature is living in this sinkhole? The purple gold divine dragon shrunk his neck and followed Chun Nan into the sky. It's the aura of the heavens. Chun Nan, even if I die, I'll drag you down with me. Hei Chi's angry roar came from the bottom of Fengdu Mountain. Then, a fist shot out from the ground and shattered the land, revealing a huge, pitch-black trench. Roar. Deep underground, Hei Chi seemed to have encountered an unimaginably strong enemy. His roar pierced through the clouds and the evil aura, spreading across the heaven realm. What heaven's aura? What is Hei Chi saying? In the distant sky, all the god kings gulped. They felt their mouths become rather dry as they stared at the ravine below in both fear and eagerness. Rumble. Heaven-shaking sounds rang out continuously as rubble flew through the air. The two great mountains rushed out of the demonic clouds and collapsed high into the sky. The momentum was just too great. In the next moment, a terrifying scene appeared before the eyes of Qin Nan, Elder Nanhai, and the other experts. It was a tentacle as long as a mountain ridge, waving high into the sky. Previously, it was this tentacle that flung the two mountains up and shattered them. Is that the monster in the sinkhole? All the god kings were dumbfounded as they felt their scalps go numb. The gigantic object was like the tentacles of an octopus, with lumps and bumps on its surface. It was also covered in sticky liquid, and it danced in the sky endlessly. In addition to the huge demonic creature, there was also a black shadow in the sky. He was holding an indestructible demonic saber and constantly slashing out tens of thousands of rays of divine light. The saber light was like the most violent lightning as it constantly bombarded the tentacle. Little friend Chen, you seem to have released an incredible big fellow. Elder Nanhai looked at the sky in a daze as he muttered to himself. Looking at the huge monster fighting with the black gas in the sky, Chun Nan's expression was a little dazed. Obviously, this scene had exceeded his expectations. Hei Chi had come out of the seal in advance. As he was no match for it, he had set his sights on the heaven realm's #1 sinkhole. Rumor had it that there was an ancient taboo sleeping in the sinkhole. Therefore, he wanted to use this taboo to seriously injure or even kill Hei Chi. Unexpectedly, this taboo had charged out directly. Moreover, it looked like a ruthless fellow. Rumble. In the battlefield, a huge tentacle danced. It was like a heavenly dragon that covered the sky and the earth. The terrifying power it unleashed was terrifying. It's just a mere clone of Qing Tian. If it weren't for the fact that I haven't recovered my strength, I wouldn't be suppressed by you. I can destroy it with a raise of my hand. Hei Chi roared. His roar was filled with resentment. What? A power related to the heavens? It's a clone of the heavens. Hearing Hei Chi's roar, the powerhouses were in disbelief. After knowing the identity of the huge monster, Chun Nan frowned. His eyes narrowed into two slits. No wonder this unknown demonic monster could give him such a strong sense of threat. He could even smell the scent of death. It turned out that it was related to the heavens. If the one fighting against it was not Hei Chi but him, perhaps he would not be able to last more than 2 rounds. However, even the monarch Hei Chi could only defend himself against this huge monster. He was in a passive position. Boom. Another earth-shattering explosion. Another huge demonic shadow rushed out from the endless demonic aura. Unlike the tentacle, this was a huge claw arm. It swept across the sky and slapped toward Hei Chi. It was like a beast's claw. It was covered with green scales. Its sharp claws flashed with a dark green light. It was like a destructive ghost claw from the underworld. It drew a chilling trajectory in the air and then came crashing down. In the battlefield, Hei Chi roared angrily. The demonic blade in his hand swept across. The blade radiance emitted a terrifying light that flattened many mountains. However, it was still difficult to hurt the source of the disaster. The other party was like an unkillable monster. The fierce battle continued. Not long after, a huge stone tablet rose into the sky. Looking at it, there were a few big words on the stone tablet. They were emitting a bright divine light that illuminated the dark Fengdu mountain. Qing Tian's seventh clone? Seeing the big words on the stone tablet, everyone, including Chan Nan, was horrified. Qing Tian is not an illusory object created by the ancient powerhouses. It really exists. Someone exclaimed, "My dragon god!" The purple gold divine dragon opened his mouth wide and woke up from his drunken stupor. He muttered to himself, "Damn it, the heavens are really here. Lord Dragon is a little dizzy. Damn it. Oh my hair. I'm dizzy too." Baby Dragon opened its eyes wide and mimicked the purple gold divine dragon's actions, opening its mouth to agree. "It seems like we've really gone too far this time," Chen Nan muttered. Chun Nan murmured. He also felt a headache coming on. Putting down the scene that had just happened, the situation had already gone beyond his control. He could no longer predict what would happen. "Chen Nan, why are you still standing there? Retreat." The purple gold divine dragon's long tail whipped Chun Nan. Chun Nan woke up from his shock and glanced at the fierce battle in the distance again. Then, he looked at the surrounding god kings. "Let's go, Buzz." However, before Chen Nan, Elder Nan Hai, and the other powerhouses could retreat, another roar came from the ravine below. Then, two more claws stretched out. However, this time, the two claws were not aimed at Hei Qi. Instead, they were aimed at Chan Nan and the others. No. I think I've been frozen. I can't move." Looking at the beast claws covered in green scales and tentacles that looked like octopuses, the group of immobilized god kings were shocked. Their eyes were filled with fear. At this moment, they finally understood what kind of terrifying existence the primordial sovereign king Hei Qi was facing. Just the aura from the beast claws and tentacles alone was enough to suppress them to the point that they could not move, let alone resist. "Chun Nan, hurry up and save your brother dragon." The purple gold divine dragon roared with a trembling voice. "Break." Although Chun Nan was also suppressed by the aura, he was not immobilized like the other god kings. He was only slightly affected. As his cold voice fell, Chun Nan's palms formed a circle. A mirror formed by the accumulation of dazzling light appeared in the area where his palms overlapped. Dazzling golden light shot out from the mirror, forming a light track that shot out. Wherever it passed, the void collapsed, and a golden path was shot out. Clang, clang. However, when Chun Nan's terrifying attack landed on the seemingly soft beast claws and tentacles, it did not cause any substantial damage. Is this the so-called Tian? Even if it's just a clone, it's already so powerful. Looking at the beast claws and tentacles that continued to attack him, Chun Nan's expression turned grim. However, just as he finished accumulating power and was about to attack again, the void above them suddenly buzzed. In the next moment, endless white mist appeared out of nowhere and condensed into a giant chaotic palm. The giant chaotic palm suddenly appeared and swept across. Under many confused gazes, it slammed into the beast claws and tentacles. Bang! With a dull thud, the beast claws and tentacles exploded and dissipated into a rain of light. On the other hand, the giant chaotic palm remained in the void, releasing dazzling light and giving off a holy aura. We were saved. Was that Chen Nan's technique? Did he save us? Did he break through again? Otherwise, how could he dispel Tian's clone's attack so easily? Looking at the dispersing beast claws and tentacles, the god kings were stunned at first. When they returned to their senses, the fear on their faces vanished and was replaced with joy. When they looked at Chen Nan again, their gazes were filled with gratitude. "Chen Nan, did you break through?" "I didn't do it." The elder of the South Sea looked at Chen Nan in confusion. As soon as he said that, Chen Nan shook his head and waved his hand in response. "If you didn't do it, then who did it?" "The Demon Master has already exiled all the Heaven-tier experts to the Third World." The elder of the South Sea pointed at the chaotic palm in surprise when he heard Chen Nan's words. "No, there's someone else aside from me." As soon as he finished speaking, Chen Nan immediately turned his head and looked around. His face was filled with excitement, as if he was looking for something. It was not just Chen Nan. The purple gold divine dragon, Long Bao Bao, Uxian, Chen Shi, and so on thought of something as well. They all became excited. Chapter 395. Chunnan, are you talking about your master who even the demon master couldn't find? Elder Nanhai's expression changed slightly when he heard Channan's words. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Without waiting for Channan's reply, the space around them started to shake inexplicably. Then, under everyone's gaze, a long and thin crack appeared at the bottom of the chaos giant palm. Inside the crack was a blue passage, and a long river could be vaguely seen in the sky. An aura of time surged out. At the end of the long river stood a young man with his hands behind his back. With a step, he disappeared from the end of the long river and appeared outside the crack. He appeared. Who is he? Could it be that he was the one who struck out that giant palm? This person seems a little familiar. He should know Chunnan. Looking at the young man who appeared outside the crack, the group of godly kings were stunned. Their eyes were filled with confusion and curiosity. They couldn't help but look at Chunnan one by one. At this moment, Chunnan, Uxin, and the purple gold divine dragon's expressions changed greatly. Obviously, they knew that person. Master. Little Chen, she was the first to shout and flew into the young man's arms. Chu Bei picked up little Chen Shi and pinched her fair and tender cheeks. Then, he looked at Chunnan and smiled. I really didn't expect that it would be so long since we parted. Chu Bei was indeed lamenting. Every time he passed through the space-time wheel, the time of a plane would flow like a long river, quickly passing by. He had only left for a few days on this trip to the Divine Tomb Plane, but tens of thousands of years had passed in the Divine Tomb Plane. Chunnan had also grown from a Stage 6 warrior to a Heaven-tier warrior. If he didn't have the support of Xiao Hei's power at this moment, he wouldn't be Chunnan's match. Master, time has passed so quickly. You really haven't changed at all. Chunnan stepped forward and bowed deeply to Chu Bei. His face was filled with respect. I also didn't expect that you would leave for tens of thousands of years. You've improved a lot. Chu Bei patted Chunnan's shoulder lightly. This disciple has just stepped into the heaven stage, Chunnan said. Master, do you still remember us? At this moment, the purple gold divine dragon and dragon baby flew over and looked at Chu Bei with flattering expressions. You guys have become much stronger as well. The corners of Chu Bei's mouth curled into a smile. Whether it was the ruffian dragon or the baby dragon, they had both reached the God King realm. Little friend Chunnan, is he the master you mentioned who can talk to the Devil Master? The elder of the South Sea and the God Kings seemed to return to their senses. They studied Chu Bei seriously as respect filled their eyes. Rumble. High up in the sky, the intense battle was still going on, and the explosions were earth-shattering. On the other side of the battlefield, the black demonic saber grew dimmer and dimmer. His roar also became much weaker. Master, that person is King Heiqi of the Fifth Realm. As for that demonic creature, it is Qing Tian's incarnation. Chunnan stretched out his finger and pointed at the battlefield. As he spoke, he looked a little embarrassed. The appearance of Qing Tian's clone has something to do with me? I've guessed it. Chu Bei nodded in response. He had some understanding of the 7 primordial sovereigns and Qing Tian. Boom. At this moment, an earth-shattering explosion came from below. Fengdu Mountain underwent a drastic change. The ground churned as if it was about to surge up into the sky. Endlessine energy shot up into the sky. 2 snow-white jade-like arms appeared around the endless mountain range of tentacles and beast claws. They were as beautiful as the jade-like arms of the peerless beauty, but their biggest flaw was that they were too big. The 2 arms that could be said to be perfect were like 2 snowy ridges. They enveloped the sky and emitted endless rays of light. Amidst the loud rumbling, the 2 arms pushed against the surface of Fengdu Mountain. A tall figure climbed out of the ravine. Could she be the incarnation of Master Qing Tian? Looking at the tall figure standing in the ravine, the group of experts exclaimed. It was actually a woman who was over 10,000 feet tall. Her dark green hair was like a waterfall that hung high in the sky. Her cold eyes were emotionless as she looked down at everyone. There was no joy, anger, sorrow, or joy. There were no fluctuations in her emotions. This was a peerless beauty that made people tremble in fear. Of course, the difference was that she had 6 arms. Other than the pair of snow-white arms, she also had a pair of beast claws and a pair of tentacles under her ribs. Her ferocious and terrifying appearance was frightening. Screech. The woman let out a strange and frightening sound. Her 6 arms swung continuously, causing the mountains to crumble and the ground to crack. She almost forced He Qi into a desperate situation. Master, does Qing Tian's true body look like this too? Looking at the woman, Chan Nen felt his heart turn cold. This so-called incarnation of Qing Tian looked at them as if they were lifeless objects without any emotions. The incarnation of Qing Tian can look like anything with a single thought. As for what the true body looks like, perhaps you will be able to see it soon. Chu Bei hugged little Dawn and looked at the battlefield calmly. Hearing this, Chun Nan's expression changed. Master, are you here to look for Qing Tian? Chu Bei shook his head. Qing Tian is just the first heaven under the heavenly axiom. I'm here to slay the heavenly axiom. What? Slay the heavenly axiom? What's the heavenly axiom? Where is it? Is it even stronger than Qing Tian? Hearing the words out of Chu Bei's mouth, the group of powerhouses immediately revealed astonished expressions. Seeing that Chun Nan was about to ask, Chu Bei was the first to answer. In the coming days, follow behind me. You will have the chance to see it. In the battlefield, He Qi roared. He was forced into a desperate situation. He was thrown into a ravine, and then he was lifted into the sky by a tentacle. A beast claw even snatched his demonic saber. If I'm at my peak, why would I be afraid of you? He Qi went crazy. It was as if he had used some kind of secret technique. His hair stood on end, and his entire body began to emit demonic aura. Darkness instantly engulfed heaven and earth. The souls of 400,000 gods and demons roared, shattering the sky. Vast energy waves instantly spread across the entire heaven realm. As expected of the sovereign king of the 5th realm, he actually has the strength to fight against the heavens. The god kings who were watching the battle used all their strength to resist the terrifying aura released by He Qi. When He Qi was angry, heaven and earth changed color. He broke apart the giant tentacle, and the demonic saber of despair returned to his hand. Like a demon awakening, his body began to expand, and in an instant, he became indomitable. Today, I'll slay the heavens again. He Qi roared, and the enlarged demonic saber of despair in his hand slashed toward Qing Tian's incarnation. However, the beautiful woman did not show any emotion, as if she was a jade statue. Her jade-like palm danced, and she casually raised it to catch He Qi's demonic saber. I can't accept this. He Qi transformed into a peerless great demon king, standing between heaven and earth. He was as tall as the 6-armed woman, and his aura did not lose out to her. However, the indestructible demonic saber in his hand was caught by her jade-like hand, and it even emitted a series of cracking sounds, as if it would break at any time. Buzz. He Qi's aura continued to rise, an endless demonic aura spread out. The demonic saber in his hand vibrated, and an incomparably dazzling demonic light burst out, wanting to cut off the woman's hands. On the other hand, the 6-armed woman remained calm, and she emitted a faint and cold aura. When she saw He Qi's demonic saber vibrate, her hands also exploded with a dazzling light. Crack! With a crisp sound, the demonic saber shattered. The woman's face still did not show any emotion, and then 4 of her arms danced like poisonous snakes. 2 tentacles that resembled an octopus stretched out endlessly, ferociously wrapping around He Qi's neck. 2 razor-sharp claws were even more vicious, each aimed at He Qi's chest, abdomen, and eyes. Each move was fatal. There was no way to dodge, no way to dodge. He Qi screamed, and the 400,000 indestructible souls of gods and demons quickly gathered together, transforming into an incomparably ferocious and gigantic demon. Screech! The woman looked at the ferocious and gigantic demon, and after a pause, she retracted her 4 arms, and then lowered her head to look at the crater below. Following the strange sound coming from her mouth, The endless baleful aura in the crater boiled, and countless souls could vaguely be seen struggling and wailing, covering the sky and earth. Fengdu Mountain once had tens of millions of souls buried here, and later, several heaven-rank powerhouses laid down a formation to prevent the Yin Qi from leaking out, making this place the #1 Yin ground in the world. The howls of tens of millions of souls resounded between heaven and earth, and it made everyone's scalp go numb. Oh my dragon god, this great master gives me the feeling that she's more like a great demon than Hei Qi. The purple-gold divine dragon howled. Chunnan also frowned when he saw this. The amount of baleful aura in this place had already affected him. The eerie howls continued, and the tens of millions of souls finally gathered around the woman, with countless black lightning flashing behind her. Hei Qi's expression changed, and the 400,000 souls of gods and demons formed a gigantic head and began to howl. Boom! Tens of millions of souls against 400,000 souls of gods and demons. Qing Tian's seventh clone against Hei Qi. The moment the two clashed, endless baleful aura surged, and the void shattered. This could be called a world-ending battle. Not only Fengdu Mountain, but with the mountain as the center, it spread out for thousands of miles, and everything turned into nothingness. When the howls and howls faded, the scene on the battlefield gradually became clear. Hei Qi returned to his original form, and his chest was pierced through by the woman. The 400,000 souls of gods and demons behind him were nowhere to be seen, and his aura became incomparably weak. As for the woman, she was not injured at all, and the tens of millions of souls she summoned were still there. Chunnan, who would have thought that Hei Qi, who dominated the ancient times and slaughtered the heavens, would be tricked by a little thief like you in the end. Hei Qi looked viciously at Chunnan, and his eyes were filled with monstrous killing intent. Even if I die here, I will take you with me and accompany Acheron. Hei Qi roared toward the sky. As his roar descended, endless black light burst out from his body. In the next moment, a terrifying force, which seemed to be the final radiance of the setting sun, allowed him to successfully break free from the woman and rush toward Chunnan. Almost at the same time, the woman waved her 6 arms and controlled the tens of millions of souls to rush toward Hei Qi. Not good. Hei Qi is using himself as bait, and he is attacking with Qing Tian's clone. We can't move. Looking at the tens of millions of souls that blotted out the sky and covered the earth, the experts' voices trembled, and their faces were filled with despair. Master, Chunnan, Uxian, Little Dawn, and the others did not show any fear on their faces. They only looked at Chu Bei. As for Ruffian Dragon and his dragon babies, they immediately flew to Chu Bei's side, and as if they were afraid that they were not close enough, they wrapped their claws around Chu Bei's waist. Chapter 396. Chunnan, let's go together. In the sky, Hei Qi roared and flew towards Chunnan with the millions of souls behind him. A roar filled with killing intent reverberated in the air. However, when Hei Qi lured the Qing Tian doppelgangers attacked to 3 meters away from Chunnan, a white fog surged and formed a wall of chaos. This wall of chaos stood in the bottomless ravine below. As for its height, it extended far into the distance, and one could not see the end of it. The appearance of the wall of chaos seemed to have separated the void into 2 worlds. Hei Qi frowned, but did not have time to think. He attacked the wall of chaos without hesitation. In the next moment, Hei Qi was stunned because he easily passed through the wall of chaos. It was as if the wall did not exist. Chaotic light of calamity. It was also at this moment that a light syllable sounded in his ears. Turning his head, he saw that the voice came from the unfamiliar young man beside Chunnan. Hei Qi's gaze fell on Chu Bei. He sent a wisp of divine consciousness over, and his expression changed drastically. At this moment, the wall of chaos behind him also moved. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The strange runes on the wall surged, and the endless chaotic light turned into millions of golden daggers. They shot towards the millions of souls that covered the sky like a rolling river. These golden daggers seemed to be only the length of a palm, but each of them contained a sharp and terrifying aura, mixed with a holy aura. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The millions of golden daggers shot out and sank into the millions of souls. In an instant, the millions of souls struggled and wailed. Eerie ghostly howls rang out continuously. As if they had met their nemesis, the tens of thousands of souls wailed in agony. They stopped moving and instinctively turned around, trying to escape. Unfortunately, there were simply too many of those golden daggers. They covered the sky and covered the earth, sealing off every single direction. Furthermore, their speed was extremely fast. In an instant, the millions of souls were penetrated and dissipated in the world as they wailed in fear. It was as if the golden daggers had purified them. In the blink of an eye, the sky fell silent. The souls of the army vanished, and only a wall of chaotic light remained standing in the sky. The attack of the Qing Tian doppelganger was neutralized again. That's an attack that even He-Chi couldn't block. The Ga-Kings were stunned when they saw this. They returned to their senses and gulped subconsciously. Then, each and every one of their gazes landed on Chu Bei. Their gazes were filled with shock and admiration. Although they could not sense the energy contained in the golden daggers, they were certain that if the golden daggers hit them, they would suffer the same fate as the army souls and be instantly turned into ashes. One of the 7 immemorial kings, the god of slaughter, He-Chi, was also stunned at this moment. His eyes were somewhat empty, but more of it was astonishment. It was as if he could not believe what he had just seen. You, who are you? After recovering from his shock, He-Chi's eyes locked onto Chu Bei. Previously, when he first sized up this person, he discovered that his divine sense had left and did not return, as if it had fallen into a quagmire. Thank you for your help, master. Chun Nan bowed to Chu Bei with a respectful expression. Then, he pointed at He-Chi and said, I hope master can send this guy to the 18th level of hell. Chu Bei narrowed his eyes and looked at He-Chi. When he met Chu Bei's calm gaze, He-Chi's body trembled. His aura rose and his eyes were filled with fear and vigilance. Speaking of which, you are from the same camp. He can't be considered an enemy. Chu Bei did not attack He-Chi. Instead, he looked at Chun Nan and said faintly, The same camp? Master, what do you mean? Chun Nan was confused. Chu Bei smiled and pointed at the 6-armed woman in the distance and said, The heavenly path slaughters all living things. It is your common enemy. Who are you? Why haven't I seen you in the primordial era? Even if you are a reincarnated person, I should be able to sense the aura of an old friend from you. He-Chi's frown deepened when he heard Chu Bei's words. This is the first time you've seen me. I did not participate in your battle back then. However, the heavenly path is inextricably linked to me. This time, I will destroy the heavenly path, Chu Bei said calmly. How arrogant. He-Chi snorted. His voice was filled with disdain. Back then, the Demon Lord, the Ghost Lord, and Dugu Baitian could not even destroy the heavenly path. You think you can destroy the heavenly path above the heavenly path? Chu Bei smiled and ignored He-Chi. Instead, he looked at the woman in the distance who was the embodiment of the heavenly path. Even though tens of millions of souls were destroyed, the 6-armed woman remained calm. Her face was filled with a cold aura. Her dark green hair hung high in the sky like a waterfall. Her cold eyes looked at Chu Bei and looked down at everyone. Screech. The woman's gaze was fixed on Chu Bei's body, her mouth emitting a strange and frightening voice. In the next moment, she swung her 6 arms across the sky and blasted towards Chu Bei with a terrifying aura. Compared to the attack on He-Chi, the woman seemed to be more serious when she attacked Chu Bei. Just the aftershock alone was like a raging wave hitting the shore. Rocks flew into the sky. The Fengdu mountain range, which had already collapsed, was like a tsunami. All the mountain rocks surged like a river. The majestic energy fluctuations shocked the experts who were watching the battle. Let's start with you. Looking at the huge demon claws and tentacles from afar, Chu Bei's expression did not change. His indifferent voice came out of his mouth. As his voice faded, the wall of chaotic light that stood in front of Chu Bei transformed. Endless resplendent light continued to gather and compress until it formed a chaos giant that was tens of thousands of feet tall. Vaguely, one could see a human-shaped iron lump floating in the center of the Chaos Giant's body. The moment the Chaos Giant took shape, its body was covered with a layer of bright armor. At the same time, two red lights shot out from its eyes. It was like a living creature. Then, the Chaos Giant took a step forward. Its body emitted a series of friction sounds. A violent and terrifying aura spread out. This aura, feeling the terrifying aura released by the Golden Giant, all the experts, including King He-Chi, had a change of expression. Roar. A loud roar that seemed to come from ancient times resounded between heaven and earth. The terrifying sound waves spread far and wide, reverberating in every corner of the heavenly realm. Swish. The Chaos Giant stretched out its hand and grabbed the tentacle of Qing Tian's incarnation. It simply tore it apart. In an instant, the front end of the tentacle was cut off. Bright red blood fell from the sky like a waterfall, dyeing the ground below red. Screech. Qing Tian's incarnation seemed to feel pain. The strange sound from its mouth became sharper and more ear-piercing. Rumble. However, before the woman could do anything, the Chaos Giant swept in front of her in an instant. A punch was thrown out. Its power was incomparably tyrannical. The sky was split in half. If it were not for Chu Bei's timely intervention to isolate the battlefield, the heavenly realm would have been destroyed. Under the Chaos Giant's punch, half of the woman's body exploded. However, it recovered quickly. Screech. Screech. The six-armed woman let out a low cry. The pair of tentacles and beast claws that were broken suddenly grew out crazily. Then, they clamped down on the Chaos Giant's body. Then, the woman's snow-white arms swept toward the Chaos Giant's neck. The Chaos Giant was completely fearless. He ignored the woman's attack and threw out another punch. Bang! The chaos light circled around the giant's fists. Demonic runes flickered. This time, the strength of his fist was even greater. He directly sent the woman into the bottomless ravine below. With a loud bang, the ground shattered. How terrifying! He has the upper hand. The experts who were watching the battle stared blankly at the chaos giant that was formed by Chu Bei. They looked at each other with astonishment in their eyes. Die. Suddenly, an eerie and terrifying voice rang in the sky. The voice came from the ravine below. Could it be that Qing Tian's clone is speaking? Just as the experts were guessing, the woman flew out from the ravine below. Finally, there was a fluctuation in her emotions. She stared fiercely in Chu Bei's direction. Then, the woman looked at the chaos giant in the sky. Green chi burst out from her body. A force that made the experts tremble violently surged out. She hasn't used her full strength in the previous battle. Primordial King He-Chi's face was grave. He muttered and clenched his fists tightly. The strength of Qing Tian's clone was stronger than he had expected. As for Chu Bei, he was still looking at the battlefield calmly. With a wave of his sleeve, a thin layer of chaotic ripples spread out. It formed a huge three-dimensional space and isolated the battlefield from the outside world. On the battlefield, Qing Tian's clone had grown a fourth pair of arms. The new arms were much more shocking than the 3 pairs of arms. One of the arms was an eastern sky dragon. The dark green scales on it shone with a demonic light. The huge dragon head's eyes shone coldly. It was like a living sky dragon. The ferocious huge mouth opened and closed. A roar resounded in the sky. Expert, how did our clansman become one of its arms? The purple gold divine dragon and the baby dragon opened their mouths in disbelief. Could Qing Tian be the ruler of all things? He can create all things. Elder Nanhai muttered. As for the other arm, it didn't correspond to the sky dragon's arm. It was a huge snake. Its black scales shone with a sinister light. Its blood-red eyes flickered fiercely. Its fiery red tongue was especially frightening. Rumble. Qing Tian's clone let out a sharp roar. His dark green hair danced wildly. His 8 arms shattered the sky and danced violently toward the chaos giant. The sky dragon's arm and the huge snake's arm were even more terrifying. Every time they hit the chaos giant, part of the latter's light would be annihilated. You're just a clone. I'll destroy you first. Then, I'll destroy your real body. Looking at Qing Tian's clone that could already fight the Chaos Giant, Chu Bei let out a cold voice. Then, he pointed at the Chaos Giant. As Chu Bei's indifferent syllables fell, the Chaos Giant roared into the sky. As if it had evolved, the roar was filled with heart-palpitating cruelty and brutality. It was as if it was filled with endless destruction and killing. The source of the roar represented the most terrifying disaster in the world. Looking over, a huge Chaos Light Sword formed by white mist appeared in the Chaos Giant's hand. The Chaos Giant stood in the sky, holding the white sword with both hands. With a sweep of the sword, the world seemed to have lost its light. All the light gathered on the sword in his hand. The sword light raged and instantly engulfed Qing Tian's clone. Slash! The 8 arms were all cut off. Even the 10,000 feet tall woman herself was cut into several pieces. Screech! On the battlefield, crimson blood splattered everywhere. The 10,000 feet tall woman let out a mournful wail. Her dark green hair swept across the sky, shattering huge cracks in the space. At that moment, Qing Tian's clone, who originally had a beautiful face, looked ferocious. She became extremely terrifying. Her glossy skin slowly withered and cracked until all of it fell off, revealing scales that shone with green light. The woman's head also turned into a monster's head that was full of bumps and scales. Maybe this is her real body now. The transformation of Qing Tian's clone from a beautiful woman to a monster was too big a contrast. The experts who were watching the battle were dumbfounded. In addition to the change in her appearance, her body shape also changed drastically. Her slender body turned into a strong beast's body. You deserve to die. Qing Tian's clone stared at Chu Bei with a pair of bloody eyes. As her cold voice fell, her shattered body quickly reassembled. However, Chu Bei didn't care about the threat of Qing Tian's clone. Just as the clone was about to reassemble, his figure flashed and disappeared. Chu Bei flashed past and personally took the white sword from the Chaos Giant's hand. He slashed it down. Unlike the Chaos Giant, this sword move of Chu Bei's carried mysterious and incomprehensible spell symbols and a strange power vibration that didn't belong to this world. The sword radiance was huge, and it completely covered Qing Tian's clone. In the next moment, Qing Tian's clone's body exploded again. However, it couldn't heal. I'll remember you. When my real body descends, I'll definitely destroy your soul. Qing Tian's clone looked ferocious as she shrieked continuously. Her cold gaze locked onto Chu Bei with monstrous killing intent. You don't have to look for me. I'll look for you very soon. In response to Qing Tian's clone's threat, Chu Bei sneered and slashed his sword down again. In the sword radiance, Qing Tian's clone was filled with unwillingness and blood splattered everywhere. It's over. He really destroyed Qing Tian's clone. He killed Qing Tian. Even if it's just a clone, no wonder he's the supreme existence that can talk to the ancient demon master. The experts who were watching the battle, including Elder Nanhai, stared blankly at Chu Bei's back. They were in a daze. No matter what, they couldn't believe the reality before their eyes. A cultivator had actually killed Qing Tian and destroyed Qing Tian's clone. What kind of power was that? Chapter 397. Far away in the sky, Chu Bei calmly looked at the cracked Qing Tian's clone. At that moment, his back was like a majestic, sacred mountain in the eyes of the experts. He was an existence that needed to be worshipped, especially the ghastly white sword in his hand. It emitted a chaotic glow while balls of light coiled around the body of the sword and flickered with talisman markings. Coupled with the boundless blood-colored rainstorm and the rumbling of thunder, it caused others to feel terrified and tremble. The scene in the distance was too shocking. On the battlefield, Qing Tian's clone's body dissipated, and a bloody rain fell. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled, and a strange phenomenon appeared. Chunnan, I'll give you another opportunity. Just as everyone was still immersed in the previous battle, Chu Bei cast his gaze on Chunnan. As soon as his calm voice fell, Chu Bei shot out a ray of divine light that enveloped Chen Nan's body. After a while, the celestial demon diagram flew out from Chen Nan's body and quickly enlarged to thousands of feet. Then, like a giant mouth, it madly devoured the flesh and blood of Qing Tian's clone. During the process, one could faintly hear Qing Tian's clone's roar that was fading away. He wanted nothing more than to grind Chu Bei's bones into dust. Gradually, the battlefield quieted down. The celestial demon diagram that had devoured Qing Tian's clone returned to Chu Bei's body. The chaos giant disappeared, and the white sword in Chu Bei's hand was nowhere to be found. Under everyone's gaze, Chu Bei stood with his hands behind his back and stepped on the void to land in front of Chun Nan. The godly kings and godly emperors, including Elder Nan Hai, immediately bowed to Chu Bei to show their respect. As expected of the expert, even Tian is no match for you. The expert is mighty, the most powerful expert in the world since ancient times. The purple gold divine dragon and baby dragon immediately stepped forward and looked at Chu Bei with fawning expressions. Master, when can I reach your level? Chun Nan looked at Chu Bei with admiration. If you want to catch up to me, it might not be a difficult matter. However, with the power to destroy the heavens, that day won't be too far away. Chu Bei's gaze swept across Chun Nan as he spoke. Hearing this, Chun Nan was stunned at first, then he nodded heavily. I once told you that there is a heavens beyond heaven outside of the heavenly Tao. All of you are merely in a small world. The world beyond the 9 heavens is truly vast. As for your path of cultivation, it is still far from the end. Chu Bei continued. Small world? The world beyond the 9 heavens. Before Chun Nan could react, the primordial sovereign King He Qi was the first to reveal a look of shock. Judging from the other party's tone, he naturally knew that the small world that the other party mentioned was not the current heaven realm, but the entire 6 realms. According to him, there was an even bigger world outside of the 6 realms. However, because of the existence of the 9 heavens, the vast world was blocked. Chu Bei glanced at He Qi and said, Your horizons are too narrow. Wait until I lead you to the 9 heavens and destroy the heavenly axiom. Then, you will have the opportunity to see the vast world from afar. You are very strong. However, the heavenly axiom is far more terrifying than you can imagine. Primordial Sovereign King He Qi took a deep breath. After calming down, he looked at Chu Bei with a serious expression. Do you think you've already seen through me? Chu Bei's lips curled into a smile. He Qi was silent, and his expression was somewhat ugly. The truth was that when he tried to see through the person in front of him, the other party was like a cloud of fog, and he could not detect anything. The conversation between Chu Bei and He Qi made Chun Nan frown slightly, as if he was thinking about something. After all, he had heard about the existence of the heavenly axiom over the years. On the other hand, the surrounding divine kings were confused, and they still did not know what was going on. Master, then where are you going next? How are you going to destroy the heavenly axiom? Chun Nan looked at Chu Bei. He did not even know where the heavenly axiom was. Let's gather the primordial gods first. Chu Bei's lips moved slightly, and his indifferent voice floated in the air. The reason why he did this was to be on the safe side. After all, the heavenly axiom was not simple. Since I am going to take action, no matter what you are planning, everything is meaningless. The destruction of the heavens is imminent, and you will follow me to be witnesses. In the sky above the collapsed Fengdu mountain range, Chu Bei's gaze swept across the surrounding people, and he muttered, However, because there are too many people, please stay in my small world. What do you mean? Are you going to learn from the Demon Lord? Hearing Chu Bei's words, He Qi seemed to have guessed what was going to happen next, and his expression was somewhat unfriendly. Perhaps the method is similar, but the purpose is different. Chu Bei shook his head, and his voice was cold and indifferent, without the slightest hint of emotion. He is worried that experts of your level will disturb this world, and I want you to witness the destruction of the heavenly axiom. As his voice fell, Chu Bei pointed at the void, and a huge gap appeared. Inside the gap was a world filled with birds, flowers, and celestial aura. Mountains, rivers, the sun, and the moon were all there. What right do you have to do this? Primordial King He Qi glanced at the world inside the gap, and his expression was extremely ugly. He looked at Chu Bei with eyes full of anger. You are like an ant in front of me. Chu Bei's hands were behind his back, and his face was expressionless. You think you are invincible just because you destroyed a heaven clone? If my cultivation is restored to its peak, I can also cut it down. Meeting Chu Bei's contemptuous gaze, He Qi was furious, and he pointed in the direction where Qing Tian's clone had disappeared. Go in, you won't be alone. Chu Bei looked at He Qi calmly and did not say anything else. What if I don't want to? Primordial King He Qi snorted coldly, and demonic aura began to erupt from his body. Darkness instantly covered the surrounding sky, and the souls of the 400,000 gods and demons appeared, all roaring and shattering the void behind them. That is not up to you. How dare you? As soon as Chu Bei's emotionless voice faded, He Qi let out a shout, and the 400,000 indestructible souls of gods and devils behind him quickly gathered together, transforming into an incomparably ferocious and enormous devil. The demon roared angrily and took the lead to attack Chu Bei. It opened its ferocious, bloody mouth, and a gloomy black fog came out of its mouth. Futile struggle. Just as the huge demon was about to swallow Chu Bei, a dazzling mass of chaotic divine light gushed out of Chu Bei's body, and it instantly shattered the ferocious demon. Chaotic light of calamity. As Chu Bei uttered another syllable, the mass of blazing divine light directly turned into a prison, covering He Qi's body. The next moment, a shocking and terrifying scene took place. King He Qi, who was trapped in the chaos prison, screamed in agony, and then his body turned into a pile of white bones in an instant. Before the surrounding king of gods could exclaim, the pile of white bones reformed and turned back into He Qi. However, under the effect of the chaos prison's light, he turned into a pile of white bones in an instant. Just like that, the primordial seven kings, He Qi, kept switching between life and death, falling into a cycle of life and death. The seemingly inconspicuous chaos prison seemed to have the power of time, and no matter how He Qi struggled, he could not escape from the trap. Ah, let me out. As time passed, He Qi let out a miserable wail, as if he was suffering unbearable torture, and his originally powerful aura became increasingly weak. Witnessing the scene on the battlefield, the surrounding experts shrank their necks, and they looked at Chu Bei with fear in their eyes. The chaotic light of calamity in the prison was simply too terrifying, and it could make one repeat life and death over and over again. Stop. I'm willing to go in. King He Qi kept wailing, and in the end, he even began to plead. Chu Bei glanced at He Qi nonchalantly, then waved his sleeve, and a ripple sent He Qi into the small world in the crack. What? Do you want me to forcefully send you in as well? Chu Bei glanced at Elder Nanhai and the others as he said nonchalantly. Elder Nanhai and the other experts looked at each other, then glanced at the chaos prison with great fear. They all gulped when they recalled what King He Qi had gone through. Senior, I'll go in myself. Elder Nanhai was the first to speak, and he turned into a streak of light as he flew into the small world, followed by the other king of gods and emperor of gods. Although these experts did not understand Chu Bei's intentions, they knew that they could not refuse. After all, they were not confident that they could endure the pain that even King He Qi could not endure. A long while later, only Chen Nan, Uxian, Catherine, Little Dawn, Dragon Bao Bao, the purple gold divine dragon, and Chu Bei were left in the sky. As for the king of corpses, Uxian, she was taken away by a powerful skeleton and became its disciple. Expert, you're not going to let me enter that small world, are you? After all, I'm so cute. Old dragon, I don't want to go in. I want to stay outside and serve the expert. Sensing Chu Bei's gaze, Dragon Bao Bao and Ruffian Dragon stared at Chu Bei with wide eyes, trying to act cute. Just follow me. Chu Bei's lips curled into a smile. Master, what's your next step? Qian Nan glanced at the small world, then looked at Chu Bei, confused. Although the Demon Lord sent the heaven-rank experts into the third realm, there are still many who escaped. Let these fellows stay in my small world for a while. After saying that calmly, Chu Bei waved his hand. A divine rainbow swept past, and the group disappeared. The Forbidden Zone, the land of death. This was a towering mountain. The mountain was shrouded in dark clouds, giving off a heavy and oppressive feeling. It was like demonic clouds and demonic fog. Although the sun was high up in the sky, the towering mountain gave off a gloomy feeling. Looking down from above, there seemed to be layers of demonic shadows lingering in the forest. The closer one looked, the more one could not see anything clearly. The closer one got, the more one could feel the bone-piercing chill in the forest. Master, are you here to look for that nameless god demon? Above the land of death, Nan walked out of the divine rainbow. He recognized the mountain below, and a hint of surprise appeared in his eyes. The purple gold divine dragon and dragon Bao were the same. Their mouths were wide open, and their faces were filled with shock. Chapter 398. Who disturbed my slumber? Suddenly, a huge demonic cloud gushed out from the towering mountain. The demonic cloud trembled like a raging sea. The appearance of the demonic cloud brought with it a vast and unparalleled spiritual pressure. Even though the purple gold divine dragon and the dragon babies had reached the God King realm, they still felt as if there was a huge mountain pressing down on their hearts. They felt as if their minds were about to collapse. Even Nan, who had reached the heaven stage, felt an inexplicable pressure. Such a terrifying aura. Could it be that his cultivation has recovered? Nan frowned slightly. He also released a spiritual pressure that enveloped Yusin and Chinsi, helping them resist the pressure from the demonic cloud. But his appearance hasn't changed. He's still so ferocious. Gradually, the demonic cloud surged. When he saw the figure in the demonic cloud, Nan muttered. The demonic cloud dispersed, and a tall and blurry figure gradually became clear. A head of blood-red hair fluttered freely. Half of the head under the blood-red hair was already smashed. The area above the left eye was a mess of flesh and blood. Red and white mixed together, and bits of brain matter stained the blood-red hair. The undamaged right eye had no white or pupil. The entire eyeball was extremely red and emitted a heart-palpitating blood-red light. What was even more terrifying was that there was a huge bloody hole in his chest. His heart was nowhere to be found, and it was emitting a blinding blood-red light. Looking at his back, half of the 12 wings were broken. It was extremely miserable. Too much time has passed. Do you not remember me? Chu Bei floated to the front of the nameless god fiend. The corners of his mouth curled up, and there was a hint of a smile in his voice. It's you. The nameless god fiend clearly recognized Chu Bei, and there was a hint of surprise in his voice. Looking at your condition, you should have recovered all your lost memories. Chu Bei looked at the nameless god fiend calmly. Yes. May I know why you are here? The nameless god fiend nodded and asked. Back then, your master sent experts above the heaven stage into the third realm. I'm sure you know about that. Chu Bei placed his hands behind his back and said leisurely, although my purpose for coming here is different from his, I also want to invite you to my world for a chat. After saying that, Chu Bei pointed his finger and summoned the small world. What do you mean? The nameless fiend god's expression suddenly changed. I promised Master that I would guard this place and wait for him to come out of the third realm. There's no need to wait. I'll bring you to the third realm soon and let you see the Devil Master. Chu Bei was expressionless. He pointed at the small world and said, Go in. Is there no room for negotiation? The nameless god-fiend frowned as black clouds surged behind him, occupying half the sky. We have to go in. Chu Bei shook his head and gave the answer. Then, a wisp of chaotic light gushed out from his glabella. The chaotic light transformed into an arrow and whizzed out. With a swoosh, it swept away all the black clouds behind the nameless fiend god. The nameless fiend god's body trembled slightly. He let out a cold snort, then turned into a stream of black light and entered the small world. An expert is indeed an expert. You don't even need to give face to the ancient Devil Master. The purple gold divine dragon swung his dragon tail and flattered with a flattering face. Let's go to the next place. After putting the nameless god fiend into the small world, Chu Bei raised his hand and shot out a golden light. He took Chen Nan and the others and disappeared into the void again. Forbidden land, eternal forest. At the center of the land was a body of water with no end in sight. The color of the water was very strange. It was blood red, and the occasional water tornadoes were like ferocious beasts that wanted to devour people. It made people's hearts palpitate. Who is it? All of a sudden, a cold shout rang out. The blood-red water churned, and with a strange rumbling sound, a huge whirlpool appeared in the blood-red water. Then, a huge ancient palace slowly floated out of the whirlpool. The door of the ancient palace opened, and a series of heavy footsteps came from within. 7 tall figures walked out unhurriedly, their bodies shining with golden light and emitting a blazing divine light. These were 7 angels with 6 pairs of wings. Their wings were neither pure white nor black. Instead, they were a golden color that emitted a divine light, giving people a sense of holiness. Do you still recognize me? Chu Bei appeared above the blood-red water with Qian Nan and the others. He looked at the 7 angels calmly, his voice without the slightest trace of emotion. So it's you. When they saw the appearance of the person who came, the 7 powerful 12-winged angels were immediately shocked. The battle between the other party and the fake one back then had left a deep impression on them. At first, the 7 of them were the rulers of the eternal forest. However, during the battle between the ancient era and the celestials, they suffered a Tao injury and fell into a deep sleep. Later on, the fake one occupied this part of the forest. It wasn't until that battle that they were awakened and deeply imprinted Chu Bei's appearance in their minds. My purpose for coming here is very simple. I want to invite the 7 of you to sit in my small world. As Chu Bei's indifferent voice fell, a small world appeared behind Chu Bei. Inside the small world, the nameless god fiend, immemorial sovereign King He Qi, and the others could be faintly seen. You want to imprison the 7 of us. The 7 12-winged angels reacted, their faces extremely gloomy. It's up to you to interpret it. Do you want to go in by yourselves, or do I have to forcibly send you in? Chu Bei said, his voice indifferent and carrying an irresistible majesty. You're going too far. Even when the demon lord came, he didn't threaten us like you did on account of our battle with the celestials. The 7 12-winged angels angrily roared and then flapped their wings at the same time. A holy aura spread out. At the same time, the 7 of them waved their hands at the same frequency. Layers of blue light swept out from their palms and finally gathered to form a blue river. The blood-red lake below surged as if it was being pulled by the blue river. It actually turned into a tornado that soared into the sky and combined with the blue river. Whoosh! Under the frightening momentum, the forest seemed to be fixed in place. The void was shattered and rumbled. Looking at the surging blue river, Chu Bei's face didn't change at all. He didn't dodge or evade. With a wave of his hand, the endless primal chaos in front of him surged and condensed into an incomparably huge fist. Rumble. Amidst the loud noise, the fist easily shattered the blue river. Then, the fist turned into a palm. Under the horrified gazes of the 7 12-winged angels, the palm firmly grasped them. At this moment, the 7 12-winged angels were flustered. The guy in front of them was even more powerful than they had imagined. From the beginning, the 7 of them had worked together to unleash their strongest moves. But in the eyes of the other party, they were still unable to withstand a single blow. Let us go. Anxious voices came from the mouths of the 7 angels, but before they could struggle, they were thrown into the small world by Chu Bei. Master, where's the next stop? Chun Nan was curious. Cemetery of Gods and Devils. Chu Bei's lips moved slightly. Cemetery of Gods and Devils? There are only tombs there. Chun Nan was puzzled. Other than tombs, there's also a living person. Chu Bei smiled. Master, you're talking about the old man guarding the tomb. Hearing Chu Bei's words, Chun Nan seemed to have thought of something. Chu Bei didn't say anything else. His figure turned into a rainbow and left the eternal forest. Tianyuan Continent, Central Region. Cemetery of Gods and Devils. The tall snow maples had lush branches and green leaves. Between the branches and leaves were countless snow-white petals. They were like snowflakes blooming in the hot summer, releasing a refreshing fragrance. At a glance, tombs could be seen in every corner of the cemetery. I haven't been here for a few years, but this place hasn't changed. Above the cemetery of gods and devils, Qian Nan walked out of the void behind Chu Bei. Looking at the group of tombstones below, he sighed. At the periphery of the cemetery, tall snow maples were neatly arranged. The dark green branches and leaves were lush. Under the swaying of the breeze, the pure white petals drifted in the air like snowflakes. Brother, it smells so good. Little Chin, she had an intoxicated expression as the fragrance of the flowers assailed his nostrils. I knew you would come. At this moment, an old voice drifted in the air. Following the voice, in front of the straw hut, a skinny old man stood at the door. Both of his hands were leaning on a walking stick as he walked toward him shakily. The old man's hair and beard were white, and his face was engraved with weathered wrinkles. His skinny figure was frightening, as if a gust of wind could blow him away. Do you still remember what I said to you when I first came? Chu Bei looked at the old man calmly and said indifferently, because of you. Effect, because of you. The old man looked at Chu Bei. So, you're going to make a move? But, why are you here? My old bones can't take the torment. Maybe there's a place where you can be of use. This time, I'm here to invite you to my small world to recuperate. The corners of Chu Bei's mouth curved into a smile. With a wave of his right hand, a small world was brought out of the opening. Hearing Chu Bei's words and looking at the small world, the old man's eyes instantly became cold and fierce. His slightly rising aura oppressed the void with a sizzling sound, and strange phenomena appeared behind him. Do you want to make a move? Sensing the old man's rising aura, Chu Bei's voice was indifferent and emotionless. If you insist on this old man entering your small world, then give it a try. The old man was not afraid. Then turn into the life and death wheel. Chu Bei's eyes narrowed, and his voice suddenly became low. Hearing this, the old man's eyes flashed with a trace of surprise. He did not expect this guy in front of him to see through his true body. Rumble. Amidst a series of loud noises, the old man's skinny body instantly enlarged thousands of times. Then, a huge wheel appeared in the sky above the graveyard of gods and devils, releasing an incomparably terrifying aura. It was also at this moment that waves of roars came from the depths of the cemetery. The terrifying roars of gods and demons seemed to connect heaven and earth, reaching the 6 paths of the 3 realms. Roar. The soul-stirring roar was like an evil spirit from hell that was about to rush out of its cage. The earth rumbled and trembled continuously. The souls of the dead gods and demons that had not dissipated seemed to be about to rush out. The entire graveyard of gods and devils was in an uproar. Chapter 399. I didn't expect this old fellow to be so terrifying. You really can't judge a book by its cover. Looking at the life and death wheel in the sky and the phenomenon in the cemetery, the purple gold divine dragon shrunk his neck as his expression changed. Chun Nan was also shocked. Although he knew from the beginning that the gravekeeper old man was no ordinary person, he didn't expect him to be so terrifying. The aura released by the gravekeeper old man was even stronger than the nameless god fiend. Perhaps even in the primordial era of the gods, he would be one of the top existences. As for Chu Bei, his expression didn't change at all. His body slowly rose into the air, and his entire body was wrapped in the chaotic fog, gradually giving off an ethereal feeling that it was difficult to capture. Vaguely, one could see the silhouette of the iron lump in the chaotic fog. As the iron lump and Chu Bei merged, the latter's body emitted a majestic energy fluctuation with a desolate aura, as if it had existed since ancient times. An aura of time that seemed to be able to affect the flow of time was vast and mighty like a vast ocean, surging out violently with waves rising and falling. Looking at Chu Bei's aura in the sky, which had changed once again, Qian Nan's heart was in turmoil. As Chu Bei released a vast aura, Qian Nan keenly felt the changes in his body. The God-fiend diagram in his body actually started to slowly rotate with a strange rhythm. Buzz, buzz, buzz. In the sky above the graveyard of gods and devils, two colossal beings that were hundreds of thousands of feet tall faced each other. The wheel was black and white, and it carried the aura of life and death respectively. As it slowly rotated, the millions of tombstones in the cemetery trembled, and the cries of ghosts made one's heart palpitate. As the iron lump and Chu Bei merged, the primordial chi and primordial chi transformed into a taiji diagram that exploded with resplendent light. Various phenomena formed by the interweaving of chaotic light could be seen. The sky collapsed, and cracks in the void spread. Under the gazes of Chan Nan, Yu Xian, and the rest, the two colossal beings started to close in on each other. Chi chi chi. The black and white energies on the wheel transformed into a dragon snake that rushed out with a roar. Its ferocious bloody mouth expanded to the limit, and it actually wanted to swallow Chu Bei in one gulp. At some point in time, a spear formed by the interweaving of chaotic light appeared in Chu Bei's hand, and with a swish, it directly killed the dragon snake. "Do you really want to force my hand?" A calm voice came out from the chaotic light fog, echoing in the sky. Rumble, the black and white chi dispersed, and the life and death plate spun faster and faster. "Forget it. I can't defeat you, and I don't want to injure myself. I'll go with you." The aura of the life and death plate became more and more terrifying and soon reached its peak. However, just when it was supposed to be a fight to the death, the gravekeeper old man's unresigned sigh came from the life and death plate, and it seemed to carry some helplessness. In the next moment, under the gazes of Chan Nan and the purple gold divine dragon, the life and death plate kept shrinking until it finally returned to the appearance of the gravekeeper elder. Almost at the same time, the chaotic fog outside Chu Bei's body dissipated. After that, Chu Bei, who stood with his hands behind his back, descended from the sky with a calm and composed appearance. "You've just started and you're already admitting defeat? Can't you act more like an expert?" The purple gold divine dragon pursed his lips and looked at the gravekeeper old man with disdain. Chan Nan looked at the gravekeeper old man with a strange gaze, as if redefining the latter's character. "I'd like to see how many people you can invite into your small world." The gravekeeper old man threw away the walking stick in his hand and let out a cold snort. It was not difficult to hear the resentment he had for Chu Bei. "Don't worry, as long as it's above the heaven rank, none of them will be able to escape, including the third realm." Chu Bei looked calmly at the gravekeeper old man and then pointed at the small world in the gap. His meaning was obvious. "Then I'd like to see if I can wait for the demon lord inside." The gravekeeper old man narrowed his eyes. "Not only him, but all the old friends you want to see will be there." Chu Bei smiled. "I hope your strength is as great as your words." The gravekeeper old man waved his sleeve and flew into the small world in the gap angrily. "Dugu Xiaoxian, do you think you can escape from under my nose?" Suddenly, Chu Bei looked to the west and calmly said. Then, he waved his hand and sent out a gorgeous ripple. Wherever the ripple passed, the sky was instantly imprisoned, and then a woman's figure floated out. The woman was dressed in a purple robe. She was elegant and had an aura of lightness about her. "It's really been a long time. I didn't expect Senior to be so much stronger than I imagined. Even the life and death plate is no match for you." Dugu Xiaoshuan's bell-like laughter resounded through the graveyard of gods and devils. Her clear and melodious voice was like the sound of nature. "Do you want to go in by yourself, or do you want me to send you in?" Chu Bei pointed at the small world and glanced indifferently at Dugu Xiaoxian. "Senior, how can you force me to enter your small world? I still have to find my father. You can't do this to me." In a few steps, Dugu Xiaoxian had already arrived beside Chu Bei and shook Chu Bei's arm with a fawning expression. Regarding Chu Bei's request, the peerless goddess Dugu Xiaoxian was obviously very unwilling and angry, but she knew the strength of the gravekeeper old man. Even the gravekeeper old man was forced to enter the small world, so with her strength, she couldn't do anything in front of Chu Bei. "Tens of thousands of years have passed, and you still haven't found him. In my opinion, it's better to go to my small world and sit for a while." With me taking action, you father and daughter will soon meet. After saying that, Chu Bei's eyes narrowed, and his expression was incomparably cold, not caring about any feelings. Hee, it seems you don't intend to make an exception, but I'm not as cowardly as the gravekeeper old man. Even if I can't beat him, I still have to fight. Hearing Chu Bei's words, Dugu Xiaoshuan's face immediately became gloomy, and her face changed faster than flipping a book. Do you think this is meaningful? The corners of Chu Bei's mouth curled into a disdainful smile. Reversal of yin and yang. Return to chaos. Immemorial demon sealing curse. Immemorial demon sealing seal. Dugu Xiaoxian let out a cold snort, and then coldly spat out the words from her mouth. In the next moment, countless curse and seal characters inexplicably surged out from the graveyard of gods and devils, and with a buzzing sound, suppressed Chu Bei. Chu Bei shook his head and didn't say anything. He just raised his hand and clapped, and a resplendent chaotic giant palm surged out from his palm. Chi. Chi. In the blink of an eye, the chaotic giant palm slapped out countless characters. Then, the giant palm easily grabbed Dugu Xiaoxian and threw her into the small world. You despicable guy. Let me out quickly. Soon, Dugu Xiaoshuan's flustered and exasperated roar came from the small world, but it soon disappeared. Tianyuan Continent, Church of Light. Underground, 13 layers of hell. In the pitch-black world of darkness, one couldn't see anything clearly. In particular, the dense killing intent in the air gave people a gloomy and terrifying feeling. However, with the arrival of Chu Bei and the others, the darkness was instantly dispersed by the holy light element, and in the blink of an eye, it was bright. Looking around, this place was vast and boundless, like a boundless prairie, except that the grass was black. Another prey is coming. Suddenly, a mournful howl came from the depths of the prairie. In just a moment, a man covered in blood-red light stood in the distant sky, looking disdainfully in all directions and howling continuously. The man's blood-red hair was disheveled, and his half-exposed upper body was covered in demonic patterns. As for his lower body, it wasn't his legs, but the tail of a giant snake, which was 20 to 30 feet long. The most peculiar thing was that in the center of his forehead, which was covered in demonic patterns, there was an additional vertical eye, which was extremely strange. The aura of the Western totem has also become much stronger. It seems that it's not far from its peak. Feeling the aura released by the Western totem, Chun Nan's pupils suddenly shrank. It's you guys. Seeing the appearance of Chu Bei and the others, the Western totem's body trembled slightly. I'm about to destroy the heavens, and I need you to bear witness. Chu Bei went straight to the point, and at the same time, brought out the small world. I can't leave here yet. When the day comes, I'll go. You can go. As soon as he finished speaking, the Western totem turned around and was about to leave. However, just as he was about to bury himself deep underground to recuperate, an extremely terrifying spiritual wave came from behind him. It felt like he was being targeted by a hunter, and his heart trembled inexplicably. Do you have to be so aggressive? The Western totem turned around to look at Chu Bei, and suddenly howled into the sky. His blood-red hair danced in the wind, and the demonic patterns on his body emitted an even more dazzling demonic light. At the same time, the third vertical eye on his forehead shot out a pitch-black beam of light. What? Do you think you can fight me just because you've recovered your cultivation? Chu Bei's voice was indifferent. His figure disappeared directly, and he appeared directly above the Western totem. Immediately, Chu Bei's right palm slammed down, and a circle of light formed by chaotic light condensed in front of his palm. To be precise, it was a bottomless light hole. The Western totem frowned, and the divine eye in the center of his forehead shot out a pitch-black beam of light. After bombarding the light hole that looked like the mouth of a giant demon, it quickly melted and then disappeared completely. To be more precise, it was absorbed by the light hole. As expected, it's still useless. The Western totem closed his third vertical eye, as if he had accepted his fate, and allowed the chains made of chaotic light to bind him and throw him into the small world. Split. After inviting the Western totem into the small world, Chu Bei shouted, and countless rays of chaotic light turned into clones and flew away in different directions. For Chu Bei at this moment, a distance of thousands of miles was just a blink of an eye. Soon, one of the clones returned, followed by a young man with a murderous aura. "Who's disturbing my sleep?" The young man was known as the Purple Cloud Taoist, and he had participated in the War of Annihilation in the Primordial Age. He had a head of purple hair, and his eyes were like lightning. He glanced coldly at Chu Bei and the others. "I'd like to invite you into the small world." Chu Bei didn't say much, and the giant palm of chaos covered him directly. Blazing golden light flashed, and the Purple Cloud Taoist ancestor was sent into the world seed. After a while, another clone returned. Behind him was an ice coffin, and one could vaguely see a figure lying in it. In addition, there was a middle-aged man with blood-red hair who followed closely behind. Both of them were filled with demonic chi, and the aura of experts that they emitted filled the entire 13th level of hell. TSK, I didn't expect that even the primordial six evils would be caught. This is getting more and more interesting. The small world bobbed up and down, and the gravekeeper's laughter could be heard. "Who are you? Why did you come here and disturb my cultivation?" The man with blood-red hair stared coldly at Chu Bei. "Huntion, heartless, I'd like to invite you to another place to rest," Chu Bei said. "Oomph, you think you can do something that even the Demon Lord couldn't do?" With a bang, the ice coffin exploded, and a white-haired man stood in the void, staring at Chu Bei with disdain. "Just because he couldn't do it, doesn't mean I can't do it." Chu Bei glanced at Heartless and Huntion. As soon as he finished speaking, a powerful chi exploded and swept through the entire 13th level of hell. "Ice seal to the void." The Heartless Patriarch frowned. He enunciated each word clearly and unleashed his strongest law. Ice and snow danced in the air, and in an instant, Chu Bei was surrounded by a giant ice block. "Oomph, you can't even escape from my primordial true ice, and you dare to compare yourself to the Demon Lord?" Heartless Ancestor sneered. Even if the Demon Lord was sealed by his primordial true ice, he wouldn't be able to break it easily. "Master!" Seeing this, Qian Nan immediately condensed a light hammer in his palm and smashed it at the ice block. However, before his attack could hit the ice block exploded, and a giant hand came out of the ice block, grabbed Heartless Ancestor's neck, and threw him into the small world. How is this possible? He was clearly frozen. How could he escape so quickly? Huntion looked at Chu Bei in disbelief. "Do you want to give it a try as well?" Chu Bei turned to look at Ancestor Huntion. "Huntion, come in. You're no match for him." Just as Huntion was hesitating whether to make a move, Heartless' weak voice came from the small world. Apparently, he was seriously injured by the attack just now. Upon hearing this, Huntion glanced at Chu Bei with an unwilling expression and then flew into the small world by himself. As time passed, more and more peak ancient powerhouses were awakened by Chu Bei, and they were invited into his small world. These ancient powerhouses were all people that even the Demon Lord couldn't invite back then. In the end, Chu Bei turned into a giant fog of chaotic light that floated in the distant sky, emitting a majestic energy fluctuation that swept through all the 5 realms except the 3rd realm. It was a terrifying aura that made people tremble in fear, and they simply couldn't muster the will to resist. Even powerful experts like the Gravekeeper Old Man and the 6 Evils couldn't help but marvel at Chu Bei's terror. On this day, a shocking turmoil occurred in the 5 realms. A long roar came from the Li family in the mystic world. A wave of demonic energy rushed out of the exit, and a tall figure was slapped into a small world. In the Du family in the mortal world, a majestic aura was vast and mighty. The heavenly demon head was forced to wake up from its slumber, and a giant claw of chaos grabbed it without warning and disappeared. In the western heaven realm, a loud dragon roar spread across the west earth, and a heavenly dragon flew across the sky. However, as soon as the dragon roar sounded, a figure wrapped in chaos appeared and punched it into the small world. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.